Franklin County Board of County Commissioners now in session for this regular session, May 2nd, today, of 3rd of 2022. Would let's stand and go to the Lord in prayer this morning, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your hand upon our lives. As we're gathered here today, Lord, we ask you for understanding, wisdom, and discretion in every decision we make. We thank you for this day you've given us, for every future day that lies ahead of us. We thank you for the residents and the visitors to Franklin County and the life that we enjoy together in this wonderful place that we get to call home. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Mr. Chairman, once as everyone is being seated and getting comfortable, good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone else. Good morning, audience. As you can see, we have a very long agenda in front of us, commissioners. In addition to that, at 1:30, we had the State Fire Marshal's office with a presentation here as a workshop, commissioners. So I would say it's one of those days where we have to really push on and try to get through our agenda this morning so that we are able to take a break and we set up for the Fire Marshal's presentation, because any deferment of any items from this morning meeting will have to be after that presentation, which could put us here until 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, commissioners. I heard a couple of giggles, so yes. So that would call for an extra long day. And in addition, I'm not sure if Mr. Ralston will be able to come back at that time to finish recording the meeting for Forgotten Coast TV. So I work for you guys, so I'm not rushing you, but I'm gently nudging us along this morning, if I may. All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for that moment.
Not a problem. Thank you, Michael. Up first is approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
So move.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt. Was that a second by you, Commissioner?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ms. Jessica, that is a unanimous vote. Up next would be payment of the county's bills.
So move. Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley, second by Commissioner Parrish. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous. Up next is Williams CEO, Mr. David Walker, with a Hospital Week proclamation.
Just trying to make sure all my team members are around me this morning. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners here today. Behind me, you see some great team members that are representing our organization here today. I have a proclamation for National Hospital Week. Whereas the National Hospital Day was first observed on May 12, 1921, to boost citizens' confidence in hospitals following the 1918 Spanish influenza pandemic. In 1953, the National Hospital Day expanded to National Hospital Week, allowing hospitals additional time to educate the public about medical care. And whereas George E. Weems Memorial Hospital was built in 1959, allowing the hospital and its employees to serve Franklin County for over 63 years. And whereas those who serve in the Weems organization have a mission to improve the health status of residents and visitors of Franklin County by providing quality, compassionate, cost-effective, and convenient health care throughout the county, throughout the community leadership, in collaboration with other healthcare organizations which serve our communities. And whereas the National Hospital Week is May 8th through 14th, 2022, and this year's official theme is We Are Healthcare. The National Hospital Week is an opportunity to recognize employees working within the entire George E. Weems Memorial Hospital organization, which includes our hospital, Weems Medical Centers, and Franklin County EMS. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic showed the tireless dedication and selflessness of those employees working with all healthcare fields and truly earned them the title of essential workers. And now, therefore, we, the Franklin County, Florida Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 8th through 14th, 2022, National Hospital Week, encouraging each resident of and visitor to Franklin County to express their gratitude and support the employees for their selfless service to our community during these ever-changing times. Presented 3rd day of May 2022. And one other note we have here, we have an employee by the name of Lily Mills. She's been working in our organization for 50 years. So she's a 50-year employee, and we have other employees that have tireless work to our organization. So thank you for allowing us to present this proclamation to you all so we can cheer our healthcare heroes on as they begin to serve our community and visitors. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good to see you guys.
So we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion, Commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Walker. All right, up next, Mr. Steve Lanier, Superintendent of Franklin County School District.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, you
I missed
missed
something?
public
Oh,
comments?
sorry, I missed something, Mr. Steve, my bad. Up next is public comments.
That's what I'm talking about for moving along. Okay.
I
so
was trying. I was trying.
You have a number of speaker cards filled out in
Yes.
front of you. And actually, I have two other speaker cards. Let me answer a couple of questions at the same time, if I may. Mr. John Berry and Mrs. Debbie Jordan, they have also speaker cards for this afternoon so I just want to let them know that I have their speaker cards for this afternoon, 1:30.
Okay.
And I did not mention the state fire marshals will not be on Forgotten Coast TV, but it will be on Zoom. There's a separate login for that. If you go to the county's website, you click on that, follow the links, you'll be able to log in, speak, and view, and it'll be recorded. All right. So in front of you, sir, you have a number of speaker cards. Some want to speak now under public comments. I've tried to indicate that. You have others that want to speak later on during when the county attorney brings up his items regarding the Lanark Village St. James Lanark Village Volunteer Fire Department.
Right.
Try saying that fast a few times. So
Okay.
I just hope I've done a good job about separating that group for you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
So, Mr. Gordon Hunter?
I believe Mr. Hunter has indicated he's speaking for a group, so he would like 5 minutes instead of the standard 3. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
and you have some handouts for the board?
I do.
Get this first, sir. Hand another.
Okay. This one doesn't have a paper clip on it, but the rest of them do. Okay, thank you.
You can begin anytime you'd like, sir.
Okay, my name is Gordon Hunter, and I represent a group called Friends of the Apalachicola Regional Airport. I have submitted 6 proposals for the Apalachicola Regional Airport. The first one is to sign up the airport to an aircraft tracking system, such as one offered by a company called Vertower, a Florida company. Airport traffic counts are an essential element in securing federal and state grants for airport improvements, and our airport traffic has been severely undercounted for years. There has never been a designated system used to count airport activity. These are the advantages of an installed system. Track all aircraft within range of the airport, track all takeoff and landings, receive alerts and notifications for after-hours activity when the airport is not manned, and to create daily or monthly reports for aircraft operations. These reports will be turned into the FDOT and will help our airport when it comes to asking for future grant money. The current cost is listed at $500 per month, which is very affordable when compared to what it can do for acquiring grant monies. Number 2, electrify all airport T-hangars. Nearly all general aviation airports have electricity to their hangars. Ours does not, except for a few individuals that have done it on their own expense. Our hangar leases to aircraft owners are higher than most other general aviation airports in our region, and they get nothing for it but the empty space. A local electrical contractor has given us an estimate. It would cost about $10,000 to put lights and electrical outlets into all 41 T-hangars. Each hangar would have its own meter and would pay monthly usage fees on an individual basis. And I checked with about 6 airports, general airports in the region, and all of them have electricity to their hangars. That's outlets and lights. We do not have anything in ours. Number 3, grant the airport manager the right to conduct regular inspections of all county-owned airport hangars for safety and security conditions. Currently, the keys to all T hangars are controlled by the FBO Centric Aviation, and they have not been willing to let the airport manager have access to them. This is wrong. The contract of the previous airport manager even stated that he, quote, makes frequent inspections of all physical facilities. This situation needs to be corrected. The airport manager is tasked to manage the airport and its facilities, and the FBO should only be taking care of daily operations. The airport manager should be designated for this responsibility over the FBO. Number 4, review all hangar leases and terminate them if they are in violation of FAA regulations and FDOT rules. It is common knowledge that there are some hangars that are not being used for aviation purposes, and there is a waiting list of aircraft owners wanting space. The county is not only in violation of state and federal rules, but would be missing opportunities for increased revenue from aircraft owners for local fuel purchases. In one particular case, the airport owns a 80 by 60 maintenance hangar, including an office space that was once formerly designated for the airport manager. This hangar is suspected of not being used for aviation purposes. It is locked up and the key has not been made available. This hangar has a 10-year lease that was drawn up in 2013 by county attorney, and I have a copy of it right here, Michael Schuler, and signed off by then Commission Chairwoman Cheryl Sanders. It was a giveaway lease, a sweetheart deal of $500 a month for 4,800 square feet of space, which is less than 11 cents per square foot. That was far below market value for storage space at that time and is way below market value today. Not only is the hangar losing potential revenue for the airport, but it is in violation of the rules of usage. No aircraft are being stored there. We recommend that this contract be terminated for its violations and the hangar turned over to the airport manager to be used to store all airport equipment that is now being stored out in open space. As you have been told in a previous meeting, this equipment has been severely deteriorating and is costing the airport money to repair and refurbish. A new maintenance hangar is planned to be built as per airport master plan, but that will take several years to be constructed. It would certainly be worth the loss of minimal revenue generated by the current lease to have our airport equipment be stored inside and protected from the elements. Number 5, clear the airport perimeter fencing. Authorize the airport manager to either use county resources or hire an outside contractor to clear trees and brush around the airport's perimeter fencing. The airport is in violation of FAA rules that all airport perimeter security fencing have a 10-foot clearing both inside and outside of the perimeter fence itself. This has not been cleared for years, and the fencing has been overgrown by trees and brush. Security has been compromised. This would not be an expensive project. There's money in the airport bank account to cover this. Recently, there's been an FDOT grant that was awarded to clear brush and trees within the airport boundaries in order to have legal aircraft approaches, but nothing has been proposed for the clearing of the perimeter fencing.
Mr. Hunter, thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Okay, I have one more point to make.
You're actually over 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, the last point was propose an aviation advisory board be established, which has been discontinued for years.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, Mr. Chris Crosby.
Good morning, I'm Chris Crosby, and here you go, Michael.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to be passing out some handouts, but first of all, y'all know why I'm here. You know, I spoke a couple of weeks ago, and I want to tell you, first of all, my hat's off to y'all because y'all do a fantastic job throughout the county. And this is just only one issue throughout the county that y'all have to deal with. And I'm looking forward to presenting this. I've studied this issue for a couple of weeks now, since the last meeting. And I'm coming to you as a friend. And I'm speaking on behalf of the citizens of Lanark, St. James Volunteer Fire Department. As y'all know, we've had another fire that Careball and Forestry had to respond to. And I know in the last week that me knock on door-to-doors, EMS was up there. So, you know, there's several issues here that, you know, life safety and fire prevention it needs to be addressed. I gave y'all a handout, and this is y'all's county ordinance. Section 17-262, the purpose of the St. James or Lanark St. James unit is to provide fire safety and rescue services from the unincorporated area said. Well, we know since January that's not happened. Far as from the fire department, and I'm not saying that it's not happening from Careball and the EMS, I'm just talking about from the fire department itself. Section 17-263, the terms of the Lanark St. James unit shall be in exist until terminated by the Board of County Commissioners of Franklin County, Florida. Now, I know when I do research, the information is good to me unless I find it. And I'm not, Mr. Schulter, you are a great person and all, and I just want to present this to y'all and to the board, so y'all know that y'all know there's an issue, and I'm asking y'all to step in and try to fix it. And as y'all know, as of last meeting, they got firefighters but not willing to serve. Well, like Mr. Schulter said, then you don't have nobody. And so there is a group that's ready to step in, if willing by the board, the county commissioners. And I appreciate you listening to me and hearing my concerns, and I hope this helps y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley.
Thank you.
Michael,
Yes, sir.
did you say Mr. John Berry was on the line? Who else did you say?
Mr. John Berry, but he wants to speak this afternoon.
Okay.
I believe Debbie Jordan has
Yes.
two in front of you, one for now
One for now,
and
yes.
one for later.
Okay.
Ms. Jordan, you will have to raise your hand because I know you're on one of these phone numbers. I don't know which one. And you could do that by *9 on your phone, Ms. Jordan. I think that's her. And I am going to do that. And if you do *6 on your phone, Ms. Jordan, you can unmute and state your name for the record and address the Board of County Commissioners. You're unmuted. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. This is Deborah Famey. I will make it short, as I know that we all have a long day, and I want to use everyone's time as effectively and efficiently as possible. I realize that a lot of the topics today at this meeting and the one afterward will be discussing the St. James Lanark Volunteer Fire Department. I just wanted the Commission to be aware that there was a report from Franklin County, detailed report call number 22010682 yesterday evening at 18:39 p.m. By a party claiming to Jared Hewitt that I was trespassing on fire department property, and they wanted to serve me a trespass. He later spoke to Captain Segree, and he said, no, don't, he knows who I am, he knows what's going on. He said, I was not on the property, don't trespass her. I want to make the Commission aware that there were people at the party, not enough information was gained, but there was an attempt to trespass me by people at the fire department. That's all I'm going to say for now. I'm going to save more comments for later, but I would like you to be aware that this occurred last night.
Thank you, Ms. David.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's all the public comments, wasn't it? The other stuff is for later.
Yes, it seems
Okay.
that way. Does
That's
anyone
what-
else is here? Anyone want to, if I misunderstood anybody's intention, speak now?
Yeah, the other two say attorney's reports.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I think we are past public comments for the morning.
Mr. Lanier? I apologize for earlier, sir.
No apology necessary. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good to see everyone, and thank you for having me this morning. I'm Superintendent Steve Lanier from the Franklin County School District. What I want to talk to you about today is we are making an attempt to put a half-cent sales tax referendum on the November ballot for 2022. This is something that has never been done in the history of the Franklin County School District. We've never had a half-cent sales tax. And what part of the procedure is there's a checklist, a timeline of certain items we have to complete. One of them is getting permission from the county commission to put it on the ballot. Of course, once it gets to the ballot, that'll be up to the citizens of Franklin County to decide if they're going to allow that or not for our school district. This is very important. The recent legislation approved that we can now purchase school buses with half-cent sales tax. That has never been done before. There's capital outlay projects. I've sent a list to you that identifies different items that we're going to purchase with this. We're asking for a 20-year vote for that. I believe that when you look in the area school districts, there's Bay County, there's Leon County, Calhoun County, and there's Jackson County. Those are the only school districts that have it right now in this area. Wakulla County is putting it on their ballot as well for this general election. So with that being said, I know you're pressed for time. I can answer any questions that you have. Also have our Chief Financial Officer from the school district, Shannon Venable, is here to answer any technical questions that you may have. I'm hoping that what we provided to you was self-explanatory, and part of what we're going to be doing, if this is approved, we're going to be going out and having a series of town hall meetings to discuss this with all of the public. So again, this is history being made. It's never been attempted in our school district, but it's something that's desperately needed in order for us to think of the future, long-range strategic planning for our students in our school district. So,
Do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just, real quick, as I spoke to you on the phone the other day, Mr. Leonard, thank you for taking my call. I did ask you the question. This is not only to benefit the Franklin County school, the big school, I call it, it's to also benefit the ABC charter school.
that's correct. The charter school will get a portion of that. We're looking at about $1.3 million added into our budget. Charter school will get around $350,000 of that. So,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Yep. Mr. Superintendent, both schools are actually under the district, correct?
Well, they're for funding purposes.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I'm talking about,
The ABC is not part of our board. They have their own board.
Right.
They're not. They're in the district. They're not.
Right.
They're not really part of the district. But
Okay.
the legislatures have. We have to give them a portion of that sales tax and of
Okay.
regular funding. That's how they get funded. So.
Yes, sir.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes, sir.
on the sunset, you said 20 years. Is that you got a minimum on that, or why y'all using just the 20 years?
Well, you can do 10 years. You can do as many years as you want. I believe that the 20 years, most of the school districts use a 20-year, the ones that I've researched on. We could ask for 30. I think that for the projects that we have planned, I think that will be greatly beneficial to our school district. If it'll be up for, if it gets passed by the citizens, then in 20 years they'll have an opportunity to do it again. So.
Yeah, but the reason I'm for it, but you know, hey, school gonna be around forever. So
Yes, sir.
it's
Yeah,
20 years, and you just starting. That
Yes.
seemed like, you know, it should have been longer because you
Yes,
playing
sir.
catch up, really.
That's a good point, Commissioner.
You playing catch up.
Yes, sir.
But with that, I'm gonna make a motion that it be approved.
We have a motion to approve
Second with comment.
by Commissioner Lockley, second from Commissioner Bolt. Please proceed, sir.
I wanted to just emphasize something that I think complements the comment that was made in some of your well-designed literature here about a conducive atmosphere for learning. It was the summer of 1963 when I had just graduated from high school, and in that particular summer, I entered a pre-freshman summer school program at Andrew College in Cuthbert, Georgia. And in that time frame, I was given remedial math and remedial English. There was about 50 of us that were in this program. And the other defining course that we were given was a course called How to Study. And I learned all the techniques of read, recite, review, and how to organize my desk and take notes in class, and the discipline of studying. And I would like simply to put in a plug for that, offer my testimony, and offer that opportunity that complements the effort that you're looking at in this sales tax.
Sir, thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Any more discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioners. I appreciate your time, and thank you for the continued support of the Franklin County School District. It's really appreciated.
Yes, sir.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you, Mr.
Thank you.
Lanier.
Superintendent, I'll have that, all the paperwork signed and sent to your
Okay.
office as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Appreciate it. Have a good
Go
day.
for the 30.
All right. Up next, Superintendent of Roads and Bridges, Mr. Howard Neighbors.
Morning, Commissioner.
Morning, Howard.
I have nothing for the board this morning.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Howard? Mr. Howard, I will be getting with you later about some more signage that I looked at over the weekend. I know we can't do it all at one time, but if we will let it, we'll get there. But I'll get up with you personally about that. Anyone else have anything for Mr. Howard?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Howard, thank you for taking care of that issue at Drumond Park. We removed the stop sign that was not effective and put some concrete barriers to help prevent, hopefully, people from running into the fence. So thank you for fixing that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mr. Howard, thank you for everything you do, and make sure and tell your workers that we say thank you as well.
I'll do it, Commissioner, and thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Up next, Solid Waste Director, Mr. Fonda Davis. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Okay, good.
All is well?
Yes, sir.
Doing well.
I have nothing for you all this morning.
Okay.
All right.
I'm glad to see you.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Davis? Because this never happened.
I don't know, Mr. Chairman, I was just confused. Who's in charge of the, you guys or him?
No, it's all good.
One of the things, he drove all the way over here to tell us that.
It's all good. Anyone have any questions or concerns for Mr. Davis?
Don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Mr. Davis, have you had an update on the timeline of when we're going to get one of the recertifications at the landfill that we had talked about previously? Has that happened yet, or is that still in the works?
The recertification.
Or whatever it was that was having to be recertified, or either?
Oh, the permit.
Permit,
They're still working on it.
Okay,
Hopefully in about another week.
all right, sounds good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's it?
Yes, sir, I think so. Thank you.
All right.
And make
Thank you
sure and
all.
tell all the different crews that work with you and under you that we say thank you for everything y'all do.
Will do.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
all.
Yes, sir. All right. Up next, Emergency Management Director, Ms. Pam Bernal.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Ms. Pam.
I do not have any action items today for y'all.
Ms. Pam, could you remind, it's probably on your report, but for the purpose of the public, remind us of when the Build a Bucket event is going to be for hurricane season?
Let's see, the 21st or 22nd? 21st. It will be the 21st of this month, and we've had pretty good participation as far as people that's going to show up and participate in this.
Okay. Sounds good. And again, that's an event to help people get storm ready, hurricane ready, that kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
Yep, okay. Anyone else have any questions for Ms. Pam?
Miss Pam, your storm ready?
Yes, sir, this office is. If everybody in the county's got a plan, we storm ready.
Okay. It's coming.
Let's hope
Yeah,
not.
it's coming, you're right.
Let's
It's
hope
coming.
not.
I'm talking about the season.
He's talking about the season. We're hoping that we have a season like we had last year, where it turned out instead of coming toward us.
Ms. Pam, thank you for everything you and your office does to help us be ready for storms. We do
You're
appreciate
most
it, and for
welcome.
emergency events.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is Mr. Eric with us today, Michael?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
right there. Hey,
All
Eric.
right, Mr. Eric,
Good
you're up,
morning,
sir.
commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Eric.
I'm gonna go along with the crowd. I don't have anything extra for you folks today, so.
All right. Boy, Michael, that talk worked off. No, I'm kidding. I'm just joking.
I can do that every meeting, I'm kidding.
Well, Mr. Eric, thank you for everything that y'all do at IFAS. Some of the stuff that people might not be aware of that y'all are a part of. They're
Thank you.
beneficial.
Appreciate
You're a part of probably the only office I know of that's actually in all 67 counties in Florida.
That's right, yes, sir.
Yep, so thank you for that, and thank you for what y'all do for the state of Florida.
You're welcome.
All right, up next, Ms. Whitney Roundtree, Library Director.
Morning.
Morning.
I also have no action items this morning.
You do have a full agenda of stuff going on. The library is there, correct?
Look at that.
We did. We're going to be doing a lot of outreach this month. We'll be at the SGI Shrimp Fest handing out children's books. And we will also be participating in the EOC's Build a Bucket. We've got some magnetic travel games and children's activities books for patrons to add to their buckets. Those were all provided by the Friends of the Library. May 10th, we'll have Medicare Counseling available. A trained local Shine volunteer will be available to provide free and confidential counseling and to answer any general questions about Medicare or Medicare health plans. And then we've got a few new events. We're going to have a big Star Wars fan day tomorrow at the Careball branch. We're going to have a Cinco de Mayo celebration this Thursday at the East Point branch. And we've also added a few things like crafts clubs and stuff like that. So, yeah, busy month.
Well, thank you. It looks like it's very beneficial things for patrons of the library and the public to be a part of.
Yes, sir.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Roundtree? Commissioners? Ms. Whitney, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, up next, Ms. Courtney Bankston.
Good morning.
Morning, Ms. Courtney.
I just have one action item, which is the appointment of an alternate board member for District 3, Marcetta Davis.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion?
Just, everybody knows that we did send a short summary of.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want everybody to
Right
think we're
in
having
here.
somebody, nobody
Oh,
knows
no,
about, so, yeah.
Right in here.
It's also for an alternate position, correct, Ms. Courtney?
That's correct.
Okay. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Courtney.
Thank you.
Mr. Ted Mosteller, Interim Airport Manager.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Hey, Ted.
Morning, sir.
Staff.
Hi, Ted.
Ted Mosteller. I have no particular action items, although Michael will be bringing up a couple approvals.
Yeah.
And
It probably will flow better, Commissioners, if I bring up my 3 airport items and Ted kind of fills in the gaps
Okay.
as we go along. Because Ted can fill in the gaps real well, so. Okay, my report is a separate item in your packet, Commissioners. So the first item was the PAPI lights. And as of this morning, Ted, we got an invoice. Ted and I discussed that this morning. Okay, so as Mr. Marcella reported, there's been an ongoing issue with the, Ted, am I saying that correctly, PAPI lights?
yes, sir.
Okay.
PAPI.
PAPI, all right. At the airport, Mr. Collins of AFCON contacted Mr. Marty Bennett, TCA Electrical Contractors. They installed those lights, Commissioners, but they are out of warranty. They've been installed for quite a few years.
About 5 years.
I verified that with AFCON. He requested a service and a repair call. Mr. Bennett was at the airport yesterday and confirmed that the total cost to repair the PAPI lights is $900 for parts plus his hourly and his trip charge. Actually, we got an invoice for $19.45 first thing this morning, Aaron. So he actually did the job yesterday. So we got an invoice which is $19.45. It's done. Yeah, $1,945.
Okay.
Yes, and Ted is going to verify the work this morning after he leaves here.
Yes, sir.
And then we will process that payment for it. So I authorize up to $2,000, but all that is now in the past. So what I'm asking the board is to ratify payment of or just approve payment of that $1,945 for those
Yes, sir.
repairs.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ted.
Yes, sir.
I'm a commissioner. And,
Sir.
I need to ask, what is the Pepe light?
Pappy lights, it's precision
Approach.
approach.
Precision approach.
Anyway, it's a beam where the pilot, when he lands, he sees either a red light or a white light. If he sees a red light, he's too low, he better brace it. If he sees a white light, he's gonna overshoot the runway possibly.
Okay, I ain't know what it was. But
Good question, Commissioner. Yeah.
It's just, the lights shine up toward the pilot, so he can.
I ain't no pilot, that's why I told you I'm a commissioner. I ain't
Yes.
And I guess me being colorblind wouldn't help that situation either.
Well, you got a problem there.
Exactly right.
Okay. All right, so we're
Runway,
just going to
14
ratify this?
I'm sorry.
So we're just asking for a motion to ratify it?
Or just actually go ahead and process the
Right.
payment of the invoice,
Okay.
since we now have the invoice this morning.
Okay,
So move.
all right. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second with comment.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Please proceed.
Just want to verify the runway that this is applying to.
Runway 14, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it's 1432 is what he checked, because I had him check both ends of the runway.
Okay.
But the problem was on 14.
Okay.
I should have included that, Commissioner Bolt.
Okay.
Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That is unanimous vote.
All right, my next item, Commissioners, is earlier this year, the board approved an amendment of extension of public transportation grant agreement to take advantage of the opportunity to combine the use of FDOT funds and FAA funds for the Apron Rehab project. Today, I'm asking approval of another amendment for extension of public transportation grant agreement, along with resolutions for each of these two agreements, the one approved earlier this year and the one I'm asking you to approve today. Each extension needs a resolution to go with it. And this will be for the Apron project, rehab project. What we're doing, we're actually using, I should have put more of the language I did at the last, when I got initially approved. We're using FDOT funds as the match for the FAA funds to do the project. So there'll be no money coming out of the airport funds or from the county funds. That's the idea.
Good. So move.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley, second by Commissioner Parrish. Any discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, and, okay, I'm gonna get into a longer story here, and Ted, this is where you kind of jump in with me on the whole meeting and everything. So, as the board is aware, on April 19th, Mr. Mosteller was part of, accompanying the FDOT representatives at the airport for the licensing inspection. Mr. Mosteller's report includes some of the deficiencies found during the inspection. The two most important deficiencies is the temporary closing of runway 18 approach due to the vegetation obstacles in 18 approach, and the other is approximately 10 feet of high brush vegetation around the north edge of runway 32's approach.
Correct.
Correct so far. Another issue that had to be addressed was a sinkhole on the north end of runway 0624 that required fill and grading. On Friday, Ted, myself, Mr. Collins, we met to discuss solutions to these issues. We decided that Ted would work, Mr. Mosteller would work with the road department and Centric maintenance staff to address the removal of about 20 to 30 feet of the 10-foot high vegetation around the north end of runway 32 and have the sinkhole on the north end of runway 0624 filled and graded.
Correct. And those jobs have been corrected as we speak.
As we speak. Mr. Collins suggested that we use the FDOT's $150,000 obstruction removal grant to remove and clear the vegetation obstacle around runway 18 approach, which would start in late July because it has to be bidded. We have to go through the procedure of bidding it, getting the bids, and doing that. It will start in late July and should be completed by early September, reopening that approach. In addition, there is enough funding in this grant to allow AFCON to inventory all trees and other vegetation within the airport boundaries for removal. Once that inventory is completed, the board could direct AFCON to request FDOT to reallocate some of the Phase 2 funding, which is about $1.4 million, I believe, if I'm correct. It's
That rings a
$800 from
bell.
one and $600 from another, to remove all inventory trees and vegetation inside of the airport boundary. Phase 2 funding will be available to the board this July. So basically, I've paused there. If we agree to this, if the board agrees to this and we get it done in a timeline, by December of this year, we can have all the trees and vegetation within the fence line that we're allowed to clear, cleared.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
If the board is agreeable to this plan, I'm requesting approval of task order number 8, authorizing AFCON to proceed with the clearance of vegetation, obstacle blocking runway 18 approach, and the inventory for removal of all other trees and vegetation. And I keep stressing again, within the airport boundary, because this morning, Mr. Gordon, I think he was referring to outside of the boundary. So we're talking about two different things, and I want the board and the public to be very clear
Okay,
about that.
the fence line supposedly is 10 feet inside the property line anyway.
Oh, so it's inside, not outside?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, good.
So moved.
We could probably fix all that then by the end of the year with this money that we have.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt,
I'll second one comment.
second by Commissioner Ward. Please proceed, Commissioner.
I just I would like to reiterate, I know we have to go out for bids, but it would be nice if we get this done as soon as possible, because I don't like runways being closed and trees and all,
Yes.
blocking pilot's view. So that's just all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, and John, Commissioner John is aware, and we're gonna make that a priority, and then the inventory is second to that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, you can.
Don't AFCON work for us?
Yes.
Why we got to tell them, give them approval, and they just, why they ain't been told us about this?
About?
This stuff being moved. I mean, we got, what they got to do now?
Their job is to inventory everything now, Commissioner. So they're managing the money and the grants for you. But remember now, they don't have the money. We have to direct them to do it so they have something to back up when we send it to FDOT. Actually, the chairman will sign all the FDOT grants, just like he's doing this morning for that amount, the 140, 150 that we have there.
Well, I'm trying to find out who y'all would even tell us about that before it get too full, before it getting them that high.
Well, that's a good question. And I would tell you, and I believe, I don't want to speak for Ted, but Ted will tell you it should have been the previous airport manager's job. Correct, Ted?
Could be.
That's where it went, because until the inspectors come down, you won't know exactly what they don't like or what they like. But I think I would have to agree with Ted. Your airport manager would have to be the one that's making sure all these things are done, because they should know what FAA is going to tell you is bad for the airport and what's good.
Well, he
kind of
ain't
speaking
come-
in general here.
He ain't come down to time to pick up a check no way.
Yeah, so that's kind of in the past, and we're just trying to deal with the future, Commissioner Lockley, and trying to get it resolved and make sure it doesn't happen again.
All right.
Commissioner, I've been pushing this for almost a year now, and I think it's going to happen now.
Yeah. How we're lucky is that as this happens, we have money to fix it.
Yes.
So because, I know people are speaking of the money we're getting at the airport in that account, actually what they call the county airport account. It's not that much, and we already have some of that money committed, but we won't get into that discussion now.
Yeah, the reason I said it, if the dude that have been doing his job, we wouldn't be in this situation. I mean, it would have been on the books at least if we didn't have the money, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, I can only push so hard. The engineers have their own agenda.
Yeah,
And
I ain't talking about you. You wasn't even in the kitchen.
Okay, any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
If I may,
Yes,
Mr.
go
Chairman,
ahead.
mention one more thing. So in this whole situation, when Ted was trying to clear that other brush that he was able to get, Centric was able to do, again, he found another piece of equipment that needed maintenance, missing blades, bolts, something else. We won't discuss this today. We'll discuss this at another meeting. But Mr. Chairman, I discussed this with you. You had an excellent idea of basically directing Ted, myself, Aaron, I don't know who else needs to be at that meeting, to sit down and present the board some kind of plan, capital improvement and maintenance plan for the equipment at the airport. I'm not asking the board to discuss that. I'll put that on my next agenda so we can have time to have a discussion, because it'll give time, Ted, to inventory some of the equipment that's out there, and it kind of bring that back to the board, and then we move forward with that type of plan.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael, I do think that'd be a good idea. And it's, the reason I'm saying it now, number one, it needs to do, and number two is, as we get closer to budget time, even though these aren't ad valorem tax dollars, we can develop a plan that not only will we know as a commission, and the public can be fully confident that things are being taken care of at the airport, because we're laid out what we're going to repair and what we're going to replace, get things back like they need to be.
No, you're right, Commissioner, and that will give us opportunity to, again, work with engineers, AFCON, because they'll let us know what we can get FAA, FDOT money to spend on at the airport, and what we have to rely on, and I'm pointing to Aaron, not because it's Aaron, but what we have to rely on with the county airport money to spend on. That's like a last resort as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
We only use that when we have to.
Yes.
If we can get grants and federal money, hey, let's get that check sent.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me point out one thing mentioned in the information that I've provided you. The blades for the brown tree cutter that I made mention to the inspector, they're on back order. I didn't tell you that because of the steel shortage.
Yeah.
So, but we did manage, Jay, the maintenance man employed by Andrew, the FBO, came up with a good idea. He used the forklifts on the front end loader of the big tractor to dig in under the brush and pick it up. So all that brush is down. And I would point out also that the sinkhole that was mentioned was found by the inspectors, and it is filled up and leveled off. However, Jay pointed out to me numerous other sinkholes that I didn't even know were out there. So I'm going to need a few more loads of dirt.
Yeah. And I directed him to work with Howard on getting
Yes.
that dirt out there.
Okay.
And then get it leveled off. So,
Sounds good.
So unless you have some more questions for me,
I think we're good, but Commissioner Bolt had a comment.
Yeah, hey, good morning, Ted.
good morning.
It was David Smith, I believe, who came out, and he was the airport inspector on
Correct.
behalf. We've already prioritized the removal of all of the vegetation.
Yes, sir.
And that's a big priority. When he came out, he did a survey of the airport. He had certain standards in that
Yes, sir.
survey. Would it be possible for you to, in descending order, start off with what matters most in that survey and then begin to clear out and satisfy those
Yes, sir.
deficiencies?
Okay. In addition to that, I had in mind also, but I didn't do it. If you would like, I will forward you a copy of that inspection, the results of it. Would that help you? Would you
I'd like to
get
see it, you bet.
actually,
should
yes,
already
Ted,
have that.
yeah, that would be good. And that'd be good for the clerk to have a copy as official records too. Since we discussed the inspection today, somebody might make a
It's
public
spelled out
records
in
request.
detail.
Yeah, might as well send it to us. Thank you, Ted. That's a good move. Thank you. And thanks for your help. I mean, Ted,
Okay.
there's a lot to be done out there.
Go ahead,
Working.
Commissioner Lockley.
Brother Ted, Franco, we got a problem out there? What do you think causing them?
A problem with what, sir?
The sinkholes.
Sinkhole.
Oh, it's just routine maintenance. A lot of the storm sewers, the pipes are leaking, and of course that creates sinkholes. And I fell in one yesterday out there, matter of fact. Like, wondered if I was going to get out of it, but I did. But Jay and mowing, he knows where everyone is now, like I used to know when I was mowing. But they're just sinkholes where there's storm sewer underneath, and the pipes are leaking, and it just washes through the cracks and creates sinkholes. The one that they've cited this for, he said he put in, I think it were 6 bucket loads of dirt. So that's kind of how big it was. Several yards of dirt that he put in there.
So it's
And
not
there are several others that would take a semi-load of dirt to fill up.
long as it wasn't, I thought long as we got no problem with groundwater on it,
I don't think we have it. This is just storm sewer that's already in the ground, been in there for 80 years, some of it.
And know that part of the money in July is the stormwater project that he's looking at out to, the drainage.
Correct.
Let me use their term. They're looking at drainage too with that same money, Commissioner. So we'll make sure, Ted or I will make sure that, that AFCON has the engineer, they're looking at that, to use some of the money to fix that, if that's what it is, actually.
When we get these trees down, a lot of problems are going to be solved, and get that ditch cleaned out. There'll be drainage problems that'll be solved.
Yeah, I think you're right. The trees and the drainage will make Ted's life a lot easier.
I was looking at one particular area near the brush that we cut down, or he dug up, I should say, that the ditch is literally has trees in it 15, 20 feet tall, and on the other side are even taller. And it's right in the approach to runway 32. So I'm surprised we didn't get gigged for those, but he was more interested in that brush on the side.
Thank you, Mr. Ted. Thank you.
Thank you, now. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, up next, Mr. Billy Fuentes, East Point Water and Sewer District Administrator.
Good morning, Commissioners. Billy Fuentes with East Point Water and Sewer. I'm sure by now you have seen in the news that the governor signed into law a bill that dissolves Reedy Creek, which is the Disney district. And unfortunately, by the way that rule is written, it also affects East Point Water and Sewer. It dissolves our district because we were created prior to 1968, which is when the Florida Constitution was ratified. Fortunately, the bill does give us the ability to reestablish, and we are going to pursue that goal, but the first thing that we have to have is a letter of support from the county to Senator Osley and to Representative Shove. We feel, we have had a good professional relationship with the county, and we are humbly asking to get support to keep the district working and operating as normal. Our district provides, water and sewer service to East Point, but also to areas outside of our taxing boundaries. East Point is probably the last area in Franklin County where there's a large amount of commercial land, so I think commercial development's going to be there in the future. Our plant operates right now at about 1/3 of its capacity, so we have plenty of room to grow. We actually, through your cooperation in 2012, we built new wells and new vacuum stations. And so we are in a good position to continue operating. We just need your support to continue to operate. And I would ask if you could, you should have a copy of the draft of the letter, and just please give us your support to continue to operate.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Fuentes?
Just a comment.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, sir.
I just want to say it was a well-written letter, and I'm very much in support of helping East Point Water and Sewer be reestablished and reauthorized.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Appreciate it, Commissioner.
Commissioner Bolt.
And there's reason, in my opinion, why Commissioner Parrish said that. You have developed a very sophisticated infrastructure of sewer and water in East Point that ultimately is giving you the big characteristic of commercial opportunities in that area. Yeah. And I see that as a very strong foundation for you. I'm very much in favor that we get these two letters out for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. I will say, only to say this, I will say I'm, like Commissioner Parrish, I'm supportive of it being this letter of support, but I will be abstaining from voting this morning, as I also am a gubernatorial appointee to the East Point Water and Sewer Board. I am the current vice chairman, so I will not be voting, but that's not a lack of support on my part.
Yes, sir.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish.
Second with a comment.
Second by Commissioner Lockley. Go ahead, sir.
You know, sometimes people get in power, they go to their head. They hurt your way, either their way or no way. They don't care who they hurt.
Yes, sir. I was speaking with Commissioner Bolt earlier, and really our situation here is we're just caught in the line of fire, unfortunately.
Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 4-0 vote, Jessica.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. All right. Up next, Mr. Justin Purse from PenCare.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to thank y'all for having me here today and giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Justin Purse. I work for PenCare. We have opened up a division called Starting Point. And what we do is we connect citizens in the rural communities with resources that they might not know exist to help them fight opioid use disorder, substance use disorder, alcohol, anything of basically substance use disorder. And it's at no cost to them. And the purpose of me coming to the meeting today is to just raise awareness that we're here and we're in these communities. There's 6 of them. They're listed on the flyer there. And they're the rural communities. And our goal is to link them. So if they go into detox, we link them to a rehab. And if they go into rehab and they graduate, then we link them to a job or housing. Or we want to be the connection in the chain, because a lot of times there's too many holes. Somebody gets out of detox, they've been there 7 days, and they haven't really changed any of their behaviors or learned anything. They've just been sober, and they don't know. And our goal is to link them with the resources that can help them have a successful life in our communities, because this is a subject that means a lot to me. This is important to me to get this done, especially in the communities that I live and work in. Not only am I a peer recovery specialist in this community, but I have lived experience in this. Last week I celebrated 4 years sober, and I know how to talk to a lot of these people in a way that some people might not. So this means a lot to me.
Thank you for coming in, Mr. Purse. I'll ask you a question. That in Franklin County, where is there a location, like in particular, or is this going to be mobile, or is this?
It's mobile.
Okay.
So what will happen? It's basically a case by case.
Okay.
So if someone needs transportation, we'll give them transportation. If someone needs us to come out there and get them to wherever they need to go, whether it be a doctor's appointment, dentist, vision, rehab, detox, whatever it might be, to put them in a position to succeed, that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
At no cost. Anybody participating in our program, it's at no cost to them. We are funded by a grant that was granted to us for 3 years. And we have people in our consortium that we work with. I've been in the community. I've spoken to the sheriffs, the EMS, Department of Health, Mr. Lanier. I had an appointment with him last week. So we're working within the community just to get, our name out there and let them know that, hey, this exists. Because a lot of time there's resources, but if you don't know they exist, then do they really exist?
Right,
so that's what our goal is.
Yes, sir. That's true. Have you guys been able to link with the Gulf, especially for Gulf and Franklin, the Gulf Franklin Transportation Disadvantage Program? You mentioned about getting people to appointments, dentist, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That there's a program in place that you might could partner with that would help even more, is what I'm saying, to make the dollars go as far as they can.
Absolutely. What was the name of the program?
It's the Gulf Franklin Transportation. It's the Transportation Disadvantage Program.
I will get in touch with them.
Yeah, it does require a time frame.
Mm-hmm.
I can't call at 5 o'clock today and get a ride at 8 o'clock in the morning. But if it's a set appointment, but they can get a ride to the grocery store if they need to.
That would be a huge asset for us. Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll look into that.
Make sure you're aware of that. We'll get that connection for you.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
It's for anybody in the community?
Anybody. So PenCare has a long history of serving people that normally fall through the cracks, that people don't necessarily want to serve, for lack of a better term. And it's at no cost or sliding scale for PenCare. So we offer medical, vision, dental, and some mental health. And if they fall into those categories, they will get those assets for free from us. Now, there's other things that we don't necessarily participate in, but we will get them to people who do within the community that provide those resources.
Y'all got an office here?
We do. We have an office. I believe there's one in Careball, and we work closely with the Department of Health in Gulf and Franklin.
Yes, sir.
If you'll get in contact with me, I chair the Transportation for Disability, and I'm glad to get you all the key contacts you need.
Absolutely.
My follow-up question was, are you aware that Disc Village is building a 3,000 square foot outpatient facility right next door to Weems Hospital?
I have heard.
That will help potentially there, and I would like you to be aware to be involved with them when you can.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, and I think it's important for me to note that if we come into contact with someone, say in Calhoun County, that's not to say that we're not going to refer them to something in Franklin County, because we're providing the transportation. We have company vehicles as well. So this is basically uniting all 6 counties that we work with together. It's been my experience that sometimes someone trying to get sober or clean, as some say, in Calhoun County might not be the best place for them to try to do that, because there's options for them to leave. So sometimes they call it people, places, and things, change them. You know, so somebody in Calhoun County who needs to go to rehab or detox or something like that, they might get referred to Franklin. There's going to be a lot of intermingling is what I'm trying to get at. Is it's not like if we pick a patient or a participant up from Franklin County that they're exclusive to Franklin County, and vice versa. If we pick somebody up from Liberty County, they're not exclusively going to get service in Liberty County. We're going to connect them to whatever resource that is going to give them the best chance of success.
I don't think that's supposed to be no bed and breakfast right around the corner from it. It's an outpatient, I think.
Okay.
But
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just to add to it, as the first time I made contact with Justin, the first person I had him talk to was David at Weems, David Walker.
Good.
So they're aware of each other, and so Weems could also partner with PanCare. And Justin, don't you guys do the dental program for the school over?
We do, and that's the mobile program. We have a
Yeah.
mobile program that'll show up. They do Franklin schools and a lot of other counties, but so that's all at no charge. They do dental, medical, and vision.
they come out good.
Yeah.
We need it. Them dentists high.
Mr. Chairman, is the program that you have here, if somebody needs rehab, they're willing and they're able and they want to get off of this stuff, is your job to try to help them find the resource they need to pay for rehab? How does that work?
Well, I'm in a special situation in my life, basically, where I've made a lot of contacts with people, and I can get people into rehab and detox for free. There's enough people out there who've been affected by this epidemic that they're willing to help, and they do it at no cost. So the place that I attended is actually in Walton County, but there's no fee for that, and it's a year long, and you live on property, you work for the Haven House, and they feed you and they take care of everything. So you essentially have a year to work on yourself and get your mind and your spirit right. And I know of numerous places like that. I reference that one because it's where I got sober, but it's not very difficult to get people into a program at no cost to them.
No, that was my main question that I had for you, is if somebody, if you're gonna get help, then you gotta want help to get help. I mean,
that's absolutely right.
And your program here would help them find the resources they need to get the help they need.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically my question.
Yep, and my job essentially is to help them every step of the way, encourage, sometimes push, sometimes give them hard truths if need be, because that's what it took for me. So, and I want to stress that I'm not going to be enabling anybody. I'm going to be empowering people to take control over their lives, because that's what was offered to me.
That's all the question I had, Mr. Chairman.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you coming in today and making sure that we're aware, and by proxy of being here, you're making sure the public is aware. Our stuff is being broadcast live on Facebook, so.
Excellent.
So it will be seen.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
That's about the same thing like Dr. McMillan
No, slightly different. She kind of wanted to do technical assistance, Commissioner, but I have, just like you said, I have extended that invite for her to come back and explain further what she wants, so we'll see the difference between the two. Mr. Chairman, I could recommend something. So you have basically 3 times certain items. You have Alligator Point Water Resource District, that's at 10:30. The Franklin County, the City of Careball, that temporary fire rescue service, that's at 10:45, and at 11 a.m. you have the ordinance for code enforcement. May I suggest, sir, that you take a quick break and we come back, maybe we could do the bid openings right before 10:30 and then go straight into your time certain items.
Yeah. So let's take 5 minutes.
Okay.
regards to services that we offer. So we take care of individuals from birth to death. So if you have a newborn, please bring them in, come see us. We'd love to take care of them. If you're early on and you need a school physical, we'd love to take care of you. Young children typically are doing rather well, and we check in on their development and kind of leave them alone, let them grow like they're supposed to. We talk about diet, preventative medicine as well, but usually young children are doing quite well. If we're in the middle of life and we have medical conditions or we want to start our preventative medicine, we'd love to take care of you. So my goal is to consider the big picture, make sure all of those specialists who specialize in the organ systems integrate that appropriately and are considering the big picture.
Come learn some history about Apalachicola from its former ghostly residents at the annual Ghost Walk held in Chestnut Street Cemetery for one night only on Saturday, May 7th. This highly popular event will start at 6:30 p.m. Admission is $7 per person, and kids 12 and under are free. For more information, visit ApalachiColaHistoricalSociety.org. Don't miss the annual Ghost Walk May 7th at the Chestnut Street Cemetery in Apalachicola. This event is funded in part by the Franklin County TDC.
Working towards various telehealth programs where we might be able to sit down and talk to specialists one-on-one so we can get on the same page with clinical direction, wound care, endocrine, nutritionists, psychiatry. We have a lot of interesting ideas that we'd like to implement as soon as possible, and we're working towards doing that on a day-to-day basis.
It's Captain Finn here, your favorite captain, by the way, and I've got some big news for you. You can now watch me on Roku streaming TV. So how do you do that? Well, you gotta go to Forgotten Coast TV on your Roku streaming device. You can see that right here at the bottom of the screen. Go do a search for it or find it in the travel section. Now, Forgotten Coast TV features programs about our beautiful piece of paradise right here on Florida's Forgotten Coast. So make sure you add Forgotten Coast TV on your Roku streaming device and watch me, your favorite captain, Captain Finn, on How to Forgotten Coast like a local.
Hi, I'm Cara Landis. I'm a professional realtor in love with St. George Island. When my husband and I and our dogs moved here in 2002, it was the beginning of an adventure that has never grown old in a community that is amazing. If you're thinking about moving to St. George Island or investing in our world-class real estate, then this community will be as important to you as the sand and surf.
Well, Cara to me is much more than an agent. She's become a friend, and since we bought the house, we've needed work done, and she knows everybody there is that can help us with that.
One of the key elements for the historical growth and value of St. George Island real estate is the fact that it's a great place to vacation and to live. The beauty of the Gulf of Mexico with its white sand beaches and blue sky has always been a magnet for me. It was love at first sight. As your realtor, I can help educate you on the various aspects of buying and owning coastal properties. From taxes to coastal setback lines to where to find the best oysters, it's all part of being your realtor.
Too often our friends tell us of it being a hardship to buy a house, and the agent was gone as soon as the closing. We've had quite the opposite experience with Cara.
If you're looking to buy or sell real estate on St. George Island, I'd love to work with you. Please call or text me at 850-653-7753.
Fisherman's Choice Bait and Tackle has all you need for your day of fishing. They have fresh and saltwater bait, an unmatched selection of mirror lures, and a wide selection of Berkeley Gulp, plus fresh and live bait and all the rigs and tackle you need for a great day of fishing, including brands like Penn and Shimano. They are also the only bait and tackle shop in Franklin County where you can get a fishing license. And don't miss their wide selection of marine supplies, coolers, and more. Fisherman's Choice is located at 330 Highway 98 in East Point. Come learn some history about Apalachicola from its former ghostly residents at the annual Ghost Walk held in Chestnut Street Cemetery for one night only on Saturday, May 7th. This highly popular event will start at 6:30 p.m. Admission is $7 per person, and kids 12 and under are free. For more information, visit ApalachiColaHistoricalSociety.org. Don't miss the annual Ghost Walk May 7th at the Chestnut Street Cemetery in Apalachicola. This event is funded in part by the Franklin County TDC.
All right.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
You're unmuted, sir.
Franklin County Board of County Commissioners now back in session. Since with the next things on our agenda are time sensitive, we're going to skip to, we're doing the bid openings, Ms. Aaron?
Let's do the St. George Island Fishing Pier Access Road repairs. In this project, consists of replacing riprap, repairing guardrail and ribbon curb, and patching the asphalt roadway due to the storm damage. This is a combination project. It was damages sustained during Hurricane Hermine and Michael. It's two small projects added together, so the county has already received the FEMA funds for the project. We just have not done the work yet. And we're actually not able to do the actual cost of the project like we are on large projects, with that being said. So.
Yep. This is.
Okay, the first bidder is C.W. Roberts Contracting of Tallahassee, Florida. The bid bond is included.
Oh, and they actually have two parts. There's so much, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I thought,
Okay, and the project total for them is $220,463. Again, $220,463.
it's all part of the same, yeah. There's
Yeah,
copies.
yeah, 2 copies. Okay, the next bidder is going to be North Florida Construction, and they are out of, let's see, Clarksville, Florida. Let's see, their project total is $114,099.
Say that again.
$114,099.
Okay.
Okay, and make sure their bid bond is attached here. And their bid bond is attached. Okay, and the third is Pygott Asphalt and Site Work from Crawfordville, Florida. Okay, Pygott Asphalt and Site Work is $97,230.25. Again, $97,230.25. And let's make sure their bid bond is included. Bid bond is included. Okay, and these bids will be released to Dewberry Engineers for their review and approval recommendation.
Make a motion that we turn this over to proper engineer, Dewberry.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Lafley, second by Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Ward, any discussion before we vote?
No, we ain't approving, we gonna turn it over, and they gonna.
Well, approve of turning it over, yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay, the second bid that we're going to open today is for Apron Rehabilitation at the Apalachicola Regional Airport. This includes concrete pavement replacement, crack repair, and joint seal removal and replacement associated with runways 1432, 624, taxiways B and D, and the east and west aprons. Bidders were to submit a base bid and 12 alternates. At this time, we're only going to read the base bid and the first 3 bid alternates for each bidder, as the subsequent alternates are not yet funded. The bids will be released to APCON engineers for their review and recommendation upon a vote by the board. And actually, right now, we've only had 1 bidder.
And we talked to John.
Yep, and we did clear it with APCON's John Collins. And because they held a pre-bid conference, it is okay with FDOT if only 1 bid is submitted. So.
It is?
Yep. Total opposite of FEMA, sir.
Yes.
No.
Well, make a motion, we turn this over to the right.
So, we're gonna go ahead and, even though it's just 1 commission, we're gonna get their bid and 3 alternates on the record.
Oh, I thought you had.
No, we at least wanna do that, even though it's just the 1 bid.
Okay, I got ahead of the game.
And our first bidder is Pettibone Concrete Construction of Panama City, Florida. There's a lot of bids. Okay, this is base bid. Okay, the total base bid is going to be $240,593.25. Again, $240,593.25. And that is for the base bid amount. And I'm going to go ahead and run through the first 3 alternates as well. For alternate number 1, We have a proposed cost of, let's see, $287,821.50. Again, $287,821.50. Bid alternate number 2, we have $268,602. Again, $268,602. And then bid alternate number 3, we have $225,192.50. Again, $225,192.50. And upon a vote of the board, they can be released to AvCon for review and recommendation.
Do they have a bid bond, Ms. Herron?
I'll make it.
Maybe in some of the attachments. Oh, yes, they do.
I'll make a motion, we turn it over to the right. Let me ask you a question, why these alternates? That's something more than what we asked for, or they asked?
It was actually for future projects.
Yeah.
I know the airport has quite a few phases in place. So at this time, only 1 through 3 will actually be funded.
Yeah, so it's a long-term project, multi-years of work and funding. And so they went ahead and bid the entire project out to see what the alternates would be. And we had, I think there's a total bid in there buried too. And then commissioners, as we get funding, FAA, FDOT funding, then we continue with those alternate projects. We won't have to go out and bid every time we get funding. So we basically have the whole thing, the whole project bidded, and we just wait for funding, and we accomplish it as we get funding from the state or Fed.
That's good.
No, I'm not, well, if them bids gonna be good
Yes.
as things go up.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. We'll ask John that. That is a very good question, the way things are right now. Because, yes, Commissioner, that's a very good question. I'll make sure I ask that.
Okay, and Commissioner Lockley, you made a motion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve, turning this over to the review committee.
Second.
And we have a second by 2, Commissioner Parrish and Commissioner Bolt. Motion was made by Commissioner Lockley. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Oh,
I wanna add to that, cause my bids, they check out.
the price.
Yeah, make sure these are, if we gonna have to come back and rebid them if the price goes.
Okay.
I'll have John send that back when he sends his review of this project, that information to the board. I'll ask him ahead of time, Commissioner, but I'll make sure officially it's part of his recommendation.
Does that require us amending the motion, Attorney Schuler?
If you just give me that
Just
direction, yeah,
Okay.
separately from the motion, I will.
Okay.
Okay.
Not to, because I don't want to slow down that project in any way, so.
Okay.
Okay.
So then we'll vote again a second time to make sure it's clear on the record. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
And I'll report back to the board on that.
All right. Mr. Morone? What all did you have left on your report?
You are
Just one.
me or
one-
Aaron?
Well, you only have one thing left, right?
Couple.
Okay.
On the second page of my report, there's something titled Economic Development. At the last meeting, one of the items on my report, I'll give you a second to get there, provided information on a meeting with Triumph representatives that included the chairman and other county staff members, Aaron, myself, I think Alan was there too. One of Triumph's recommendations was the creation of the local technology planning team. I decided to postpone that discussion and the appointment of members until your next meeting, May 17th, due to today's agenda, the length of today's agenda. Another Triumph recommendation for the board was to consider economic development for the county. We were one of the few counties that do not have either a staff member or consultant providing economic development services, which puts us at a disadvantage. Based on our size and limited budget, I believe we would be better served with a consultant rather than a new staff member. Having someone in this role would allow for the possibility of job creation, a more diverse economy, and better coordination with state offices and agencies such as Opportunity Florida, Duke Energy, etc. Today, I'm just asking for the board to discuss this matter, not in much detail, and perhaps add it as an item to discuss during budget.
Well, I will say this, I'll start the discussion off. this is definitely something we had been looking at. Our board had already voted and talked with the Regional Planning Council some time back about helping us develop an economic development council in the county. The issue that I see, and I'm just one of 5, is that we continue to have some challenges with volunteer boards. So the creation of another volunteer board, I'm just not sure how off the ground it would be. And you know, I know this is a discussion for at budget time, but I'll just say this. I was talking to some of them last week when I was at the Industrial Hemp Summit that the ARPC put on in Tallahassee for the 850 region. I was talking to some of the economic development people from the Planning Council, and that's what they do. They're staffed to do that. They communicated with me that even like Wakulla County, our partner to the east, has hired, instead of trying to go with the traditional model of a board, they actually scrapped the board idea and hired a consultant, and they have seen pretty significant increases in a short amount of time in activities that's going on behalf of their county for economic development. So I will just put that out there since I've had that discussion. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm gonna let everybody talk then.
Okay. Anyone else?
Oh, this is, I think, very important to have somebody that specializes in this area and doesn't have to reinvent the wheel and is readily available and charged with the task.
No. Anyone else? Any other commissioners before Commissioner Lockley? He said he wanted to be last. So.
Yeah. You know, economic development. We way behind in Franklin County on this issue. Way behind. And we're losing a lot of potential people coming in here and open business. You got to have somebody out there busting, looking at all these people and contacting people and try in order to bring people in who want to provide jobs. We're in a bad area anyway because of the highway situation. You got 2 lanes coming in. I mean, you know, 1 lane on each side. We ain't got no 4 lanes, so that's gonna block us out a whole lot of stuff. Train that went down, that blocking us. The only thing we got is water and the airport. And both of them, it should be mega money coming in here through that airport and through that waterway. Careball got deep water. This water over here shallow, but Careball got deep water. And you can haul stuff out of there. You can bring stuff in there. But you ain't gonna bring nothing on the highway because it take too long to jump off 10 and the people lose too much time. It take a half a day to come down to here just driving, and then they got to unload, and the people lose a day just coming down in here on the trucking business, so you can forget about that. You need somebody in an office, not no consultant. You need somebody working every day where we can walk in that office and keep an eye on them and saying what you doing. And then you will see some businesses start popping up. But you're gonna have to pay. And if you get returns on your money, it'll be well worth it. If you get a served person sitting in there just looking at that computer and ain't doing nothing, you're gonna lose money. But you ought to be able to get some turnarounds and put some business in here. We need work. People, this place gonna grow one day. It's little now. But one day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna wonder where all the people coming from. They say 1,000 people a day moving to Florida. down south, down that way, they filling up. They done went to ground level to high as they can go. So they steady coming their way. And it's a good place when people see it, they like it. And it's gonna grow. I might not see it 'cause I'm moving, but it's coming. You're gonna need something in here to make it work, some businesses. It's a shame, can't get a hamburger there. Ain't got a Burger King. I mean, they working on one now. You can't, people working, they can't get a quick hamburger. Got to wait in line for them big businesses downtown, and then the tourists there got to go back to work hungry. Because you can't get a hamburger. That makes sense.
So is this something we don't need to make a motion now, do we?
I'm actually more the direction. Is everybody on the board? I mean, whether we go with a staff member or a consultant, is this something that the board wants to discuss at budget? That's basically what I'm asking at the moment.
Yes.
Everybody's good with that?
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay.
Myself, I'd like to see a staff member.
Okay, we could.
I mean, but I'm just one person.
Yeah. I'll have Eric set up a couple of scenarios, commissioners, and we go from there.
That's just my opinion.
No, yes, sir, I hear you. And so Gulf County has a staff member, Wakulla County has consultants. So we'll get examples from both and the board can decide at budget time.
And both of them got businesses.
Yeah.
They got more business than we have.
Yeah, but now Gulf has a staff member and a economic development council.
Really?
They kind of have both.
Oh, okay, I didn't even know they had the council. I just thought they had the gentleman.
It's a smaller board, but they have a.
Okay. And a couple of, well, actually three. One I wrote down. One is I postponed the HB, the stormwater update until the next meeting. I'm working with the state about a way of lowering the cost, if any, about getting the report done. They're working with me. Then I'll work with Edmund Jones on that after that. This important Northwest Florida water management. They're having a meeting here in your room on Thursday, May 12th at 1 o'clock. All right, so that's something that a lot of people like to attend, those meetings. And just to let you know, a while back, you had authorized Steve to hire, advertise for permanent clerk. He got a number of applications in, 5, 7, I can't remember exactly, interviewed everybody. And the candidate he decided on yesterday, after all the interviews were over, was Miss Claudine Kellogg Wilson. I hope I'm not getting her in trouble because I believe she works at the sheriff's department at the moment. So, but yes, she was a successful candidate, okay? And Commissioner, that's all I have for you for today. If there's nothing else, so you can ask me later as we need to dive into our time certain items.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've got something
Yes.
real quick.
Okay.
I've been contacted, I don't know if any other commissioners have been contacted about people with private roads want the county to fix or repair them, and I explained that that can't happen. But I'd like to make a motion for a workshop in the future to have these people come where we can all discuss about private roads being turned into public roads for a future upcoming meeting, so that we can all come together and the people that live on private roads can come state their piece and discuss what it would require for the county to take over these roads. So I'll make a motion to have a workshop about that at an upcoming meeting.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Ward for a workshop on addressing the county doing work on private roads. We have a second by Commissioner Lockley.
Well, sorry, Mr. Chairman, let me clarify. A workshop to discuss, have the people who live down private roads have a workshop about potentially having the county take those roads over.
Okay.
Okay, so what they would need to do for us to even consider it.
Right, workshop. Okay. So they could come here and we can discuss what it would require for that
what
to happen.
What standard is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my mistake.
That's okay.
So we had a motion by Commissioner Ward and a second by Commissioner Lockley.
Yeah.
Any discussion, commissioners?
Yeah, we've been through it before. People, they want their private roads, and when they become public, they don't want nobody on them. But it don't work that way. I mean, if they're gonna be public, they're gonna be public. If they're gonna be private, they can be private. You know, once the county put money in it, And if they public, anybody in town, a lot of them don't want nobody going down that road. We've been through it before.
And in addition to that, there's a standard that they have to bring that road to before we could even consider. But I hear what Commissioner Ward is saying. Let's tell them what that standard is so they realize it's an investment on their part before the county could even consider it.
And Mr. Chairman, you know, it's true, it's honest. What I get is they pay taxes, they pay county taxes to live in the county, but yet they can't go down a road that they live down. And again, like I said, you know, it's worth a shot to have this workshop to try to delineate all that and figure it all out.
Yeah, but if
That's
it's
good though. I like that. I like what you're doing.
I do too.
Yeah, discussing the standards is definitely a good thing, but if it's a shared driveway, I mean, that's their private property. At any point in time, they could put a fence up if they wanted to and nobody could stop them. It's their property.
Do you want to enhance that workshop to talk about how you should respect county right-of-way relative to dump
That's completely
fences
different
and all
subject,
that?
sorry.
Is that, you think that's a separate subject?
Definitely a
Okay,
different
all right.
subject. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
Yep. Anything else? Move on to our referendum discussion with Alligator Point Water Resources District. All right, Mr. Roan, you're off the hook. Please come forward, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of County Commission, my name is Ron Mowry. I'm attorney for the Alligator Point Water Resource District. With me is the chairman of the board, Mr. Emmett Mitchell. We have before you a resolution we're asking you to adopt. A quick history would reflect that we looked into expanding the district to merely cover people outside the district geographically who are now receiving water. They're paying a surcharge. They don't pay ad valorem tax. So this is to equalize and set off, revenue neutral, and just benefits everybody to do this. And we came before, we adopted a resolution, you adopted a resolution. It went to the legislature, it passed as a special act with 0 opposition. I'm hoping today my resolution would say, yesterday, Governor DeSantis signed it, but I had to change it to say it's before him to be signed. And irrespective, we're required to have a referendum. And we've been in direct contact with Ms. Heather Riley, worked on a contract with her, and a timetable we have that we can make available, and she will too, dealing with the times and dates when they'll be sent out, when they'll come back in. And this resolution is pursuant to Chapter 101 of the Florida Statutes of the Election Code and practices of the Secretary of State, and in a recommendation of Ms. Heather Riley that we present a resolution to the board reciting that we need you to adopt this, authorizing that we do commence and handle and have the referendum vote by mail-in ballot in accordance with strict procedures, that once this is done, it must be submitted by Ms. Riley to the Secretary of State. They have 90 days to approve it, so there's all sorts of built-in factors and safety concerns for the citizens. So I have this original resolution that does precisely that. It cites the history of when you adopted, and it's been enacted into law now. And so, that's what we're asking to do. Mr. Chairman, would you like to add anything? I didn't mean to steal the show, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry about that.
Mr. Miller, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
So when it comes down to the referendum, whom will be voting? The entirety of the district, or just those that are affected in the expansion?
No, sir, just those that are duly qualified electors that live in the expanded district.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes.
And who will pay for this mail-in ballot?
We are paying all costs and expenses.
Okay.
A written agreement with your supervisor of elections. Yes, sir.
All right. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
All right. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley. Did you approve, Commissioner?
Second.
All right.
Can I
And then
submit the
second
written
by Commissioner
resolution
Bolt.
to be signed?
Okay.
Sir? Shall I?
Good luck.
All right. Any more discussion before we vote? We'll wait on you, Commissioner. Thank you for, no, you're good, you don't have to hurry.
Thank you very much for your
Yes.
attention and your kindness. Thank you.
No
Thank
problem.
Appreciate it.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Up next, Franklin County City of Careball Temporary Fire and Rescue Service Agreement.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that's been agendaed for a specific time at 10:45.
okay, so we
I'm
gotta
sorry
wait.
to say we need to stick to the agenda.
Yep.
I guess, Ms. Griffin, have you got anything that you can?
Oh, yeah.
Please proceed.
Okay, the first item is going to be in regards to the Restore St. George Island Stormwater Drainage Project. County staff is requesting approval from the board to submit a no-cost time extension amendment to Treasury via Grant Solutions to extend the original grant award agreement performance period an additional 12 months to end on May 5th, 2023, to allow for the Florida Department of Transportation to provide guidance as to the county's maintenance responsibilities on the roads and retention ponds affected by the construction activities in the St. George Island Stormwater Drainage Project. If the scope of work is completed prior to the end of the newly proposed grant performance period, Franklin County can opt to close out the grant award agreement early and submit a new grant application for the construction phase of the SGI Stormwater Improvements Project. The supplemental narrative to the application is attached and requesting board action to approve the submittal of a no-cost time extension agreement to Treasury for the St. George Island Stormwater Drainage Project.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? We record Commissioner Lockley as he's leaving the room voting yes. So all other members, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That's a 5-0 vote by proxy.
Yeah.
I guess is what you could say. Go ahead, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, next item, at the September 21st, 2022 meeting, the board approved the contract with Southeastern Consulting Engineers for the construction, engineering, and inspection on the SCOP CR30A resurfacing project. Originally, the project included the the construction, engineering, and inspection services for approximately 5.26 miles of roadway. This revised agreement matches the reduced grant scope of 3.496 miles of roadway. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the revised contract with Southeastern Consulting Engineers reflecting 3.496 miles of roadway for the SCOP CR30A resurfacing project.
So moved.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That is 4-0. One more. Go ahead.
Next item is attached as a no-cost time extension change order for Pygate asphalt and site work for the FEMA C30 washout repairs. This project is mostly complete at this time. Dewberry Engineers is requesting the additional 30 days to allow for permanent stabilization of the side slopes, or in other words, the grassing to become established before the project closeout. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the attached no-cost time extension change order for Pygate asphalt and site work.
So moved.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion, commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I can't believe Mr. Attorney Maury was up here and he didn't take up all 15 minutes. What?
No, we did good.
I like that, sir. You changed.
Well prepared.
I put the resolution on your desk up there.
Thank
for
you.
the
Yes.
sign.
So now we'll go back in our agenda, since it is the appropriate time to get back where I need to be, to discuss the Franklin County City of Careball Temporary Fire and Rescue Service Agreement, since it is now 10:45.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
proceed?
Yes, please.
Commissioners, this is an interlocal agreement between the county and the city of Careball for a temporary basis for the city of Careball to provide primary fire and rescue services within the Lanark St. James Fire District. Basically the agreement, if it's approved, will continue until it's terminated. It has a an initial termination date or ending date of December 31st, 2022, but it will also automatically extend until such time as the parties mutually agree or either party gives 30 days notice of cancellation. The money to pay Careball for their services within the St. James Lanark District will be paid by the MSBU funds from Lanark St. James. There will not be any funds used by Lanark St. James for services outside of the Lanark St. James District. The City of Careball has proposed a rate of $160 for professional services and $90 per truck, and that would be per call out. If there are any damages to their equipment, we would first look to the party's insurance to pay for any damages, and lastly would look to the Lanark St. James funds to repair any damages to the Careball equipment which may occur either while they're in transit, on scene, or returning back to the fire department in Careball. There's some language in here which sets forth the billing procedure where Careball would submit documentation for services rendered, and they would be processed in due course at regular board meetings. There's also a procedure in the event of damage to any of the Careball equipment, also for providing reports and documentation of the date, time, place, specifics of any damages that occur, so we can have documentation in the county's files. There's a lot of other language in here that is technical, and I will go over it as the board would like, regarding insurance and insurance coverages and things of that nature. But unless the board has any questions for me, that will be the summary presentation of the draft interlocal. Basically, the paperwork is catching up to the oral agreement that's already been in place for several weeks now.
Okay. Attorney Schuler, this agreement is, just to clarify for ourselves and for the public, is for fire and emergency rescue service, or,
yes, sir.
Or first responders.
That is correct. Right. Also to include any life flights that may, because that's something that came up fairly recently, so we have included within this agreement both primary services for fire, rescue, and on-site for any life flights that need to occur. Principally, the preference, I believe, is for the life flights to take place either at the Careball Airport or at the county's urgent care facility in Careball, which also has a heliport.
Okay. Yeah, the only reason I ask is that I think from the last couple of meetings, that is the real directive from this board, is to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get past this spot and make sure that fire and rescue services are provided to these residents.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Them prices you gave us, is that a call or is that an hour?
That is, my understanding is per call, $160 for the personnel per call, $90 per truck per call. And the way it's written, I'm going to assume that Careball has multiple trucks. Otherwise, they wouldn't have written it that way.
Yes, sir.
In paragraph 2, Attorney Schuler, it says, the very last line says, Careball VFD, Volunteer Fire Department, shall not.
We have a hanging Chad. That would need to be deleted. That was.
Okay, it needs to be deleted?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know what we were referring to.
Yeah, there were multiple drafts that were
okay.
exchanged, so thank you for catching that.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I'm for this because we've had fires and nobody's responding.
Mm-hmm.
I say we, the county commission, as the governing board, has a responsibility to try to help provide fire services to them. I think this is our best option at this time. I think the prices are reasonable. If they don't have to respond to a fire, it costs nothing. If they have to respond, then you have to pay the people for what they're doing. So I think the prices are reasonable, and I appreciate their willingness to help us through this time until we reach a point where we can do something better. With that, I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this
Second.
agreement by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Lockley and Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion before we vote?
I
Commissioner,
wasn't worried about, I was just trying to clarify the price. The price sounds good, I just didn't know whether it was the hour or the thing. We got to do something, I mean. Now it's gonna look like we the bad guys, but we not. It's our duty to make sure this is done. And I'm not gonna sit up here and see this go on and go on and go on, somebody get hurt or somebody lose their house.
Yeah.
Or somebody get seriously hurt or even dead. We got to do what we got to do, step up and do it.
Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
Also, I wanted to point out that what triggered all this to begin with, which then allowed us to enter with our authority, was the fact that there were 3 incidences where the volunteer fire department at St. James Lanark Village failed to respond to a fire call. And then they disobeyed the spirit of MSBU money. That then gave us the entry authorization to begin the process that we're discussing now.
more discussion before we vote?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now, Commissioner Byrd, with all due respect, I don't like that word disobeyed. Everybody grown. They ain't got to obey or disobey, but if you volunteer to be a fire department, you know you're joining a volunteer fire department. We assume you're gonna do that. And we expect that, but we can't put nothing on them saying, you got to obey this and obey that. Cause they grown. Everybody grown. Ain't no children out there fighting fire. It's grown people. And what it is, they don't do it. Somebody clown it. That's what it boiled down to, somebody clown it. Cause it's a big responsibility. And it's a serious, this is serious. There's nothing to play with. I mean, this is a serious matter we in. Cause you can get a lot of stuff can occur by not answering the bell. You do what we gotta do.
Any more discussion on this motion before we vote?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So I would further say that, prior to these fire incidences where they did not respond, I've, been in council with our county attorney, and also I've listened to the board here talk about the fact that our county commission does not have an authority to jump in and start policing volunteer organizations. This now gives us that opportunity. And furthermore, I think we've got a good opportunity to take and consider one little baby step here, and that in the future, if we see a new board forming here, that we look at perhaps developing a contract with that board for the Lanark Village St. James Fire Department only, relative to the management and the standards of practice of managing MSBU funds. Just a thought as we go forward.
Thank you for your thought. Any more discussion before we vote?
The only one thing I want to say, Mr. Chairman, I want to double check that no one filled out their speaker card incorrectly and meant to speak on this point.
They both say attorney report.
Yeah, they all say attorney report. I just wanted to make sure that, that we were clear of that for the record.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Good, thank you.
All right. Ms. Griffith, can we go back to you for a couple of minutes?
Yes.
Because we have to wait till 11, correct, Attorney Schultz?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're on item 4.
Okay, yep. Next item is attached to this report is the E911 grant application as prepared by the E911 coordinator, Renee Brannon. This is a tri-county grant program which will pay for the hardware portion, $26,703.46 of the upgraded tri-county 911 system located at the dispatch office, and 5 years of training and maintenance. This application was due by April 30th, and the chairman signed in time for the due date. Board action to retroactively approve the chairman's signature on the attached grant agreement.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Parrish, to retroactively approve this agreement, or the signature on this agreement. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous. Go ahead.
Next item, number 5. At your April 5th meeting, the construction bid for the Armory sprinkler system projects were open with a low bid, $969,000 from Cook Brothers Incorporated, was more than twice the anticipated construction cost from 1 year ago. The county has received 2 grants from the State Fire Marshal's Office totaling $350,000 and $86,277 in insurance proceeds to go towards the cost of this project. Gilchrist Ross Crow Architects began working on value engineered scope changes for the project, and the changes reduced the proposed construction cost from Cook Brother Incorporated by $282,000 down to $687,000. Fort Coombs Armory, in its capacity as a designated convention center, does fit within the allowable use of tourist development sales tax proceeds per Florida statutes, and the Tourist Development Council had originally agreed to provide the $124,996 match needed for the project based on the original construction cost estimate. As construction costs have rapidly escalated, the match now, even with the reduced project scope, would be $396,334. Does the board wish to request that the additional match funds of $271,338 be paid by the TDC for this project? The Tourist Development Council is in the process of transitioning into managing the bookings, maintaining the location calendar, and handling the promotion of the county location. As a destination venue, historic Fort Coombs Armory fosters tourism and travel to the county. And board action to see if you all would like to request that from the TDC.
One of the pleasures I have, Commissioners, serving with you, is serving the chairman of your Tourist Development Council. When we were talking last year about increasing the lodging tax percentage, the sole reason we talked about it was the commission having the ability to have money set aside in their budget for infrastructure projects. So that money's there. This is not a guess of whether that money is available. It's not going to tax the TDC. It is available to you. So even though it was more than what we originally talked about, I mean, we can't help what the quote was. We worked to get it down. I just want the board to be aware that, you know, it's not a thing of, is the money there, is the money not there? It's there.
You said that?
Yes, sir.
Motion to get it.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Lachlan.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Parrish. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous. Ms. Griffin, go to the next one, please.
Okay. Your next item is the budget request letters. Franklin County is beginning preparations for fiscal year 22-23 budget. All budget requests must be submitted by June 15th, 2022. I have prepared the attached draft budget request letter with the following instructions. At the direction of the board, please keep your request to the minimum that your department can operate while providing the same level of services. Please be aware it is unknown at this time what the long-term financial impact will be on the county budget from supply chain delays and inflation. The upcoming budget will also include the Year 2 implementation of the 5-year pay plan as developed by Evergreen Solutions. The 5-year plan offered a statistical peer database solution to address wage disparity, market value discrepancies, some wage compression issues, and a gradual escalation in base salaries to meet the looming $15 minimum wage mandate in 2026. If your department has any long-term capital improvement needs, please outline those needs separately from the budget request on the supplemental capital improvement plan form. A copy of last year's form is attached. Board action to authorize sending the budget request letters as drafted or with any changes or additional instructions.
Pleasure, move. All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir. You sure can.
You know, just like we voted on that thing a while ago, when we first bidded on it, it was, what, 100 something? Like me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Now it going up, well, it went up to $1 million. And you can't hold back on stuff now, because if we hold back again, on this, that, or anything coming in front of us, all it's gonna do is go up some more. And this thing, it got crazy because I used to see stuff go up $50,000, $100,000. But it jumping, they going to get you. They going to get us. Cause it be 100,000 this year. You don't get it, you wait. It's automatic. Next time you see it, it's gonna be 500,000 more. Or like that hospital out there we've been bidding on when we first started. Now it's double. It don't. You gotta do what you gotta do and pay for it and get it on over with and hope you get some money for to work on something else. That's all you can do. Sit there and argue and don't do it. You ain't doing no. Somebody watching you, and they finna get rich off you.
I think it's an excellent idea to follow Commissioner Lockley that we are asking them to give us basically their budget as an operational budget and separately, whatever equipment they may need, repairs that might need to be done, we can see that separately from their the budget that they use to operate year in, year out. Yeah. So I really like the wording in this letter.
They got to have some though. They can't run them. They can't run them department with walking and shelter. They need some equipment.
Yeah.
Some good equipment. Heavy duty.
I prefer we discuss it at budget time so we're not surprised mid-budget year with somebody needing a truck or, you know, let's talk about it all up front and agree, you know.
One of the key sentences in this that is very good, because we're trying to check every box, is keeping your request to the minimum that your department can operate while providing the same level of services. That's what we're after. It doesn't mean it's always going to be the minimum. The minimum you can operate and keep the service level where it's at least where it's at.
It may be, or a new minimum. Really,
Yeah.
Some things you can't go minimum.
So did we ever have a motion and a second, or just have a motion?
Get a motion, no second.
I think
yet.
I second.
Okay.
Did I do it?
Need a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms.
I'll
Gadd, who
second.
made the original motion? I'm sorry.
The original motion is that we approve the letter that has been deployed to the county departments to assemble their budget for our review.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve this letter by Commissioner Bolt.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Ward. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous. And
I think you can squeeze in her last item.
that's what I was going to do. I mean, I know we're past 11, but
Okay.
go ahead and finish your report, please.
Okay, the next item is just informational items. Island View Park, we're still awaiting response from FEMA as it pertains to being able to move forward with awarding a construction bid when only one was received for a project, which was properly advertised. Formal direction from FEMA is needed by the next meeting as the bid was only valid for 60 days. So I have actually communicated that deadline to them, so.
Yes, and your email was excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Very well done.
Okay, Ms. Aaron, before we move on, I do have something for you. It's come to my attention from talking to several employees of the county that when we were doing the original thing with the Evergreen pay plan, payroll stuff, that with our, specifically with the mechanics that the county has and the different parts that they serve in, I've noticed on the pay plan that there is no, it's either supervisor or there's a big gap in between, but most all of our mechanics are senior mechanics in that this is how they laid it out. They're mechanics that require no supervision. You know, they have the training it takes to do what they're doing. So I think we need to, going into the next budget year, can you please contact Evergreen and ask them about that so we can clarify and it doesn't become a big issue during budget time?
Okay, yep, I will reach out to them and see about that classification code and getting another layer added for the mechanic.
Possibly, if they,
Yeah, if
you know,
recommended by them.
right.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad you brought that up. Same thing goes for some of the other ones. I was gonna get with you after the meeting
Okay.
about it, because I know we've got a long agenda today, but
Okay.
kind of what the chairman was echoing in terms of where some people are in terms of their rating. So, and then like the senior, like he was saying, the senior, some of the grades, I think maybe people that should be a higher grade are at a lower grade, and they should be at the higher grade, in my opinion. So,
Okay.
but we'll get after the meeting or some other time about it before budget.
Okay.
Thanks, Aaron.
I'll join them.
That thing didn't help nobody but the income people. It's the way it's wrote up. New hiree. That's the only thing it wrote. The rest of them people, they got ripped off. They got messed over.
No, it's moving them all up, Commissioner.
It ain't moving up like they supposed to.
Remember, and I was, a few things going on. One, Evergreen recommended a higher, a more expensive plan, which would have done what you're talking about, Commissioner Lockley, but the board was not willing at that time to buy into that plan, if I could use that term. So what we did, we had them, they lowered it by reducing where the compression changes. Compression is changing at a slower rate. I agree, to get to where we are. But the primary thing is to make sure we meet that $15 minimum rate, wage, I should say, when the state says we have to be there. And more than likely, Commissioners, we probably have to pay Evergreen for some kind of supplemental study. I would say maybe in the 4th year, as we get closer to the 5th year, to say, okay, now that we figured a $15 an hour, what about everybody else and that compression we're trying to fix? But we couldn't afford to fix everything all at the same time. I mean, I'm sorry. This is something that's been going on for years that we haven't addressed, basically, and so, it's hard to fix something in a few years that's been a problem for years. It's hard and it's expensive.
I do know 15, a new employee gonna be right on the person who been there 10 or 15 years. They're gonna be right on making much money at them, and that ain't right.
I'll have to see that one, because the only complaints we've been having is people who've been there 2 or 3 years are complaining that a new hire is close to them. And again, because of the way the plan that we decided to go with, yes, that compression, it's closer. They're gonna be closer like that until we do something about it. But the 10 or 15 years, Commissioner, I'll have to see which one that is.
And that is gonna be it will be an issue too statewide because of the $15 minimum wage increase. That's actually gonna be something that employers across the state are faced with. They're gonna find that, employees who have been hired for 3 years or so, when that minimum rate changes, they're just not gonna be able to keep up. And it's unfortunate, but that's another unfunded mandate that.
Basically.
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Morone before we move on? Ms. Griffin, sorry. I'm used to you being last, Michael. I'm sorry.
I jumped into her party.
No, that's my fault. That's my fault, not yours. Okay, so up next, we will have our public hearing on code enforcement.
Mr. Chairman, may I proceed?
Yes, please do.
All right, Commissioners, this public hearing was duly advertised in the local newspaper on April the 21st, 2022, for a public hearing to consider an ordinance adopting code enforcement entitled as follows: an ordinance of Franklin County, Florida that adopts the procedures and penalties of Florida Statutes Chapter 162 for the enforcement of Franklin County codes and ordinances, and that designates a special magistrate, providing for an effective date. As you can see, it is a one-page short ordinance. You're doing a couple of things here you're considering doing a couple of things here. One, as I said, you would be adopting the code enforcement provisions of Chapter 162, which essentially lays out a procedural due process in which alleged violations are noticed, opportunity is given to correct. If they're not corrected on the first violation, then a hearing before the special magistrate would be held. The special magistrate would conduct a quasi-judicial hearing, at which point that special master would make a decision whether to uphold the violation or not. They usually give them a period of time for correction, and if the deficiency or violation is, as found by the special master, is not corrected within that time period, essentially then the daily fines would accrue. The daily fines are determined by the special master, but they can be up to $250 a day, through the time of correction for the first violation, up to $500 a day for repeat violations. There are some limitations you need to be aware of in the statute, and they basically are codifying constitutional protections. Code enforcement liens will not apply to homestead, and code enforcement liens will not apply to certain property, personal property items that are protected from creditors' rights under the Florida Constitution. I have, after consultation and with staff, and I believe prior discussion with the board, there are two options available for code enforcement under Chapter 162. One is with the Code Enforcement Board or with a special magistrate. The decision was made to go with the special magistrate as opposed to a volunteer board, mainly for the reasons that were alluded to by the chairman earlier in the meeting. Finding volunteers that are ready, willing, and able to perform has proven challenging the last few years. This ordinance, if it is adopted, would not necessarily limit the board just to code enforcement. You would have the option to pursue other means of enforcement as well. So essentially what you're doing is, instead of replacing the enforcement options in your current codes and ordinances, you're adding another tool in the toolbox, as I believe Commissioner Parrish likes to refer to things on occasion. So that is my presentation. Are there any questions from the board to me? If not, it would be appropriate to take public comment, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners, do y'all have any questions for Attorney Shore?
I don't have any questions. I just would like a, excuse me, and as we're moving forward, I know this has nothing to do with this, but speaking of budget, me personally, and I'm one of 5, would like to maybe look at getting a code enforcement officer to be reactive instead of proactive instead of reactive. And the reason why is because with the new law, it's now nobody has anonymity anymore. If you call and make a code enforcement complaint, you have to give your name and address for the record, and people aren't going to do that anymore because they're going to be afraid of retribution. So I just moving forward, I would like to potentially look at that when budget comes up, just FYI. Me personally.
Yeah, I would have think that depends on how the board votes today, but if we enact this ordinance, I would be assuming that definitely would be a budgetary discussion coming up.
Definitely.
I would think this to just be the first step in a direction, is my take on it. I could be wrong, but anyway.
So, Mr. Chairman, you're going to open up for public comment.
Yes.
You did not need, you did not have to fill out a speaker card to speak. This is a public hearing.
Yes.
So just raise your hand. The chairman will identify you. You approach the podium.
Come on,
You
Mr.
have
Bailey.
3 minutes. You state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to address the board. And we try to keep our discussions between the speaker and the Board of County Commissioners.
Good morning, Board. I appreciate the opportunity that you're giving me to speak, and I have a prepared statement that I'd briefly like to read. My name is Patrick Bailey. I have been a resident on St. George Island for nearly 24 years. As we all know, that there was a study that was paid for by the board to canvass the Franklin County citizenry regarding their desire for enforcement of a county ordinance. It has been made abundantly clear that your constituents are requesting that ordinance enforcement should take effect. That such enforcement includes a designated enforcement official empowered to monitor code violations and issue citations for ordinance violations. That this ordinance extends to the protection of sea turtles and includes the designation of St. George Island as a special sea turtle lighting district. Such designation is within the purview of the Board of County Commissioners. That the language referring to the coastal construction control line must not be construed to abrogate Franklin County responsibility for ordinance enforcement by kicking the can down the road to Fish and Wildlife Commission, Department of Environmental Protection, or other such agencies. That input into how the ordinance is composed must be open to representatives of Fish and Wildlife Commission, National Wildlife Federation, Department of Environmental Protection, Sea Turtle Conservancy, and concerned citizens. I want this ordinance enforced and critically endangered species with their fragile habitat protected. Thank you.
Mr. Bailey. Anyone else? Please come forward and state your name for the record, Mr. Paul.
Paul Rigglemeyer. I live on St. George Island. This special magistrate that's going to be essentially adjudicating these violations, what will his qualifications be? That's going to be a pretty important position, and I would like to applaud you for getting to work on code enforcement. We've needed it for a long time, but I am curious about what kind of an individual you're expecting to see in that magistrate position. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to respond to that, Mr. Chairman?
I mean, if you want to, that's fine. That's.
Absolutely.
We can wait till after public comment. Any more? Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Joyce.
Joyce Estes. I'm from East Point, and we have just magnitudes of code problems. But I don't know, I haven't seen the written part that you're saying, and if we could get a copy of that, it would be great.
Yes, ma'am.
But I do have a suggestion that I know you're stepping on a lot of toes when you start trying to manage the problems that we have. So I'd like to see a 5-year plan that you take a little bit at the time, and within 5 years, everybody knows what the end is going to be. And prioritize those so that we all know what you're doing and which way you're going.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've been on many, many, many government boards, and you can amend your budget to hire an officer.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If not, you have one caller.
Okay. Anyone else in the room before we go to the callers on Zoom, potentially? All right, please proceed, sir.
All right, Ms. Kelly, I'm going to, if you go ahead and unmute, okay. Hi, good morning, Ms. Kelly. If you would state your name for the record and address the Board of County Commissioners.
My name is Mel Kelly. I live in Careball. Thank you, Commissioners, and Michael. My questions are about the special magistrate. Number 1, who appoints the magistrate? Number 2, to whom is the magistrate responsible? Number 3, will the magistrate be a full-time employee, paid on retainer, or hired only as needed? Number 4, what will be the magistrate's qualifications, echoing Paul Rigglemeyer's question? 5, who or what determines when do the special magistrate's responsibilities begin in an enforcement case? And last, does arbitration ever fit into this process? I appreciate your considering those. I have reviewed the statute number 162 carefully, and I appreciate your referencing that. It makes it easy to read that policy ahead of time, as I did. Thank you very much for your consideration of the questions that I raised. I always appreciate the chance to visit with the Commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Was there anyone else online, sir?
No, sir. That was the only one.
Okay.
That raised their hand to speak.
Okay. So, Attorney Schuler, we're past public comment, sir.
Well, as far as the qualifications of the special master, it's about a paragraph long. I turned it into the board a couple of months ago, and I do not remember word for word, but essentially it's going to be a person trained in the law who understands due process, that can read and interpret county codes and statutes and apply them. My plan, which the board has previously approved, I will take that special magistrate advertisement with the qualifications. I'm going to post it on the essentially the county attorney chat room, so it will be broadcast out statewide. It is the same job description that other counties have used to hire and advertise for their special magistrates. They will not be a full-time employee. The idea is they will be a contract worker, and they're required to submit essentially an hourly wage that says this is what their charges would be. Special master does not report to anyone. They conduct a hearing, they make a decision. If someone doesn't like the decision, they go to the judge next door. It doesn't come back. This board is not going to be micromanaging the special master. I think there was one other bullet point, and it has escaped me. Any reminders?
When does the process start with the magistrate?
Yes, I addressed that in the original presentation. When there's an initial violation, the code enforcement officer, who could be the building official, gives them a warning. You know, here's your violation. You've got X number of days, whatever the time frame is, and I'm sure it will depend on the nature of the violation to correct it. If it's not corrected, then the violation or the citation is issued, and the code enforcement officer will essentially call for the hearing before the special master. The hearing before the special master can be conducted either by myself as the county attorney, or on behalf of the county, or by an administrative staff person with the county. The board hasn't made that decision. One other bullet point, who selects the special master is determined in the ordinance. It can be either a decision by this board to determine who the special master is, or you can delegate it to me to select the special master. It doesn't necessarily even have to be the same person every time, but I would suspect that would be the case, because you want someone that has some familiarity with the county. Haven't put the advertisement out, so I don't really have any idea, you know, who the potential applicant pool would be, but I do plan on broadcasting a wide net, because this would go out to all 67 counties and county attorney offices in the state of Florida. But my suspicion is that no one outside of a certain, you know, fairly refined geographic bubble is going to want to come to Franklin County, nor do we want to pay them to travel to Franklin County to conduct a hearing. There are, you know, certain procedural requirements in the statute that the special master will have to follow. The county would be responsible, for example, making sure that there's an accurate recording of the proceeding. The proceeding has to be under oath. But those are all the due process considerations that the special master and myself, or whoever the admin person is, will be responsible for making sure that due process and the notices required under the statute and the waiting periods under the statute are complied with.
Well, and I think one of the key things to remember, Attorney Schuler, is this is just a first step.
That is correct.
We don't, so if the board votes in favor of this today, we've not hired this special magistrate. We've not, you know, budgeted and created the code enforcement officer yet. We're just following the procedure.
This is step one. For example, Mr. Chairman, there's another county I'm aware of that has adopted the ordinance but never has gotten quite through to the point of selecting who the enforcement person is going to be. But this would be the first step in a multi-step process.
Okay. So now, Commissioners, do you have any questions for Attorney Schuler after our public comment, or any other questions? What's appropriate now, Attorney Schuler? You're our parliamentarian, sir.
Well, we've taken public comment. The board has heard the presentation of council. You had a brief discussion and asked questions of me, so it's appropriate at this point for the board to discuss among themselves. They can have a motion and a second before the discussion, or, I mean, we don't have Robert's Rules of Order, so
right.
You could discuss first and then make a motion.
Okay.
But it's in the hands of the board at this point.
Okay. Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second with comment.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Bolt.
Discussion.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Oh, now we done heard from them. Okay. Now we finna hire a code enforcement. We need to let it be known that this code enforcement is not going to be hired for no special duties. Just focusing on special stuff. He gonna be focused on the whole, all the code. That's what I need to know. I want to make sure he hired for all code, not for Turlers, not for just Turlers, not for just any other thing. I mean, any code His job is when the code get broke. But he's not gonna run it down to one thing and be tied up like that. What y'all think about that? Do we?
Well, it's gonna be a big job, period. But yes, sir, there's gonna be a lot to work on. It's gonna, it's not gonna be a small step. But no, sir, I don't think we're today talking about a specialized code enforcement officer. We're talking about code enforcement, period.
Okay, long as the code enforcement cross the boat.
No, sir. Did you have a comment, sir? Sorry.
I really believe that today is one of the defining times in Franklin County. I have promoted this code enforcement concept for near 3 years, and I'm very pleased to see that we've gotten to the point we have today. As we see Franklin County growing and maturing, I see this effort to do so many long-ranging things, such as improvement of property values, lowering insurance rates. This is Franklin County taking personal responsibility on many issues on behalf of the people. I'm very pleased we have arrived at this point today, and pleased to vote a positive vote on this. Thank you.
Any more discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's a 5-0 vote, Ms.
Thank
Jessica.
you. Way to go.
That concludes the public hearing.
That concludes the public hearing. Let's take a recess and we'll come back. Take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and do your report, Attorney Short.
Today we're going to discuss diabetes. Another chronic condition that we face a lot in primary care is diabetes, or insulin resistance, specifically type 2. With diabetes, not only can you manage it with improving your diet and decreasing carbohydrate consumption, but there are plenty of medications that are out on the market that attack that pathology from different directions. And if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to talk about your diet, or preventing the progression of that disease, come see me at Weems Memorial and I'd love to take care of you.
Come learn some history about Apalachicola from its former ghostly residents at the annual Ghost Walk held in Chestnut Street Cemetery for one night only on Saturday, May 7th. This highly popular event will start at 6:30 p.m. Admission is $7 per person, and kids 12 and under are free. For more information, visit ApalachiColaHistoricalSociety.org. Don't miss the annual Ghost Walk May 7th at the Chestnut Street Cemetery in Apalachicola. This event is funded in part by the Franklin County TDC.
Hi, I'm Cara Landis. I'm a professional realtor in love with St. George Island. When my husband and I and our dogs moved here in 2002, it was the beginning of an adventure that has never grown old in a community that is amazing. If you're thinking about moving to St. George Island or investing in our world-class real estate, then this community will be as important to you as the sand and surf.
Well, Cara to me is much more than an agent. She's become a friend, and since we bought the house, we've needed work done, and she knows everybody there is that can help us with that.
One of the key elements for the historical growth and value of St. George Island real estate is the fact that it's a great place to vacation and to live. The beauty of the Gulf of Mexico with its white sand beaches and blue sky has always been a magnet for me. It was love at first sight. As your realtor, I can help educate you on the various aspects of buying and owning coastal properties. From taxes to coastal setback lines to where to find the best oysters, it's all part of being your realtor.
Too often our friends tell us of it being a hardship to buy a house, and the agent was gone as soon as the closing. We've had quite the opposite experience with Cara.
If you're looking to buy or sell real estate on St. George Island, I'd love to work with you. Please call or text me at 850-653-7753.
Download the new Florida's Forgotten Coast app. See the latest beach conditions, things to do, places to get delicious seafood, and great shopping along Florida's Forgotten Coast, plus more. Also, check out the Explore the Forgotten Coast Passport and Forgotten Coast Foodie Passport to be entered for your chance to win a trip to the Forgotten Coast. Download the new Florida's Forgotten Coast app and the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. This mobile app brought to you by the Franklin County Tourist Development Council. Fisherman's Choice Bait and Tackle has all you need for your day of fishing. They have fresh and saltwater bait, an unmatched selection of mirror lures, and a wide selection of Berkeley Gulp, plus fresh and live bait and all the rigs and tackle you need for a great day of fishing, including brands like Penn and Shimano. They are also the only bait and tackle shop in Franklin County where you can get a fishing license. And don't miss their wide selection of marine supplies, coolers, and more. Fisherman's Choice is located at 330 Highway 98 in East Point. It's Captain Finn here, your favorite captain, by the way, and I've got some big news for you. You can now watch me on Roku streaming TV. So how do you do that? Well, you gotta go to Forgotten Coast TV on your Roku streaming device. You can see that right here at the bottom of the screen. Go do a search for it or find it in the travel section. Now, Forgotten Coast TV features programs about our beautiful piece of paradise right here on Florida's Forgotten Coast. So make sure you add Forgotten Coast TV on your Roku streaming device and watch me, your favorite captain, Captain Finn, on How to Forgotten Coast like a local.
Working towards various telehealth programs where we might be able to sit down and talk to specialists one-on-one so we can get on the same page with clinical direction, wound care, endocrine, nutritionists, psychiatry. We have a lot of interesting ideas that we'd like to implement as soon as possible, and we're working towards doing that on a day-to-day basis.
In progress.
Franklin County Board of County Commissioners is now back in session. Up next on our agenda is our attorney's report. But before we go to the attorney's report, Mr. Chris Doolin is here from the Small County Coalition. Sir, would you like to address the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mentioned yesterday that I was going to come down for the Fire Marshal's workshop. The Fire Marshal, Julius Hallis, has been working with the Small County Coalition to come up with programs that respond to a lot of the needs that some of our smaller counties have, which still rely on volunteer fire departments, reduction of training, putting training online, scholarships for training, funding for equipment once they, but it's a tough issue to skin the cat because it does take time, and so I wanted to come down and see that. First of all, I just want to thank you all. You've been a charter member of the coalition from the very beginning when we started in 1990, and we've been we've got more members than we've ever had. We're up to 40 members, and we had a pretty good legislative session. I always like to look at the session and see that we clearly, exponentially, were influencing funding well in excess of the dues that you pay, which is less than, I think, around $3,000. With 40 of us working together on similar issues, that really works out. I want to point out for y'all and for anybody else who follows the process, we have an updated website, www.smallcountycoalition.org. It is, I do a daily briefing or an almost daily briefing. There's an archive there. There are important links there. There's legislative information there. There's about 7 different buttons you can press. And I think it's competitive with virtually anything that a individual interested in government or a citizen would want to look at and find, especially on the important links. All the state agencies, all the taxing authorities, all this, that, and the other. So that's really good. You know me, if you put a mic in front of me, I'm going to use it, and kind of don't ever give Jack the Ripper a knife because he's going to use it too. So a mic is like to me. But at any rate, we got another upcoming session, property. I've been talking to folks around that own property. First of all, looking at what issues you have as a local government, much less, and it's importantly what the public has. The issue of roofing, being required to get a new roof every 17 years before you reinsure, those kind of things. The prices have just gone crazy. People are leaving the state. You got the hurricane season coming up. It's a very difficult issue to deal with because you've got to provide a competitive environment for the insurance agencies to function. At the same time, you've got to provide the capacity for a citizen to also afford. And so Citizens is out there for that. A couple things on the docket that I want to just point out. First of all, and I apologize for taking so long, let me tell you what the Small County Coalition does and your support for the Small County Coalition does. Last year, there was $5 million for rural infrastructure. It went to $30 million. It was a priority for us. It's a grants program, a rural infrastructure fund. We've been working on broadband, access to broadband for several years now. I mean, everybody knows the capacity to function with accessible broadband that's affordable and sustainable. $400 million we got this year for broadband. And as it relates to that, there's a requirement for a local technology planning team that I'd like to work with you guys on because it's not as complicated as a lot of people think. And it's going to be a criteria if you have applications coming out of Franklin County from a provider. We don't want a lone ranger coming in there that hasn't been in collaboration or discussion with your local technology planning team. And who is that? The school district, local government, the cities, the chamber, the sheriff's office, those major stakeholders that have an important function in making sure who are they targeting, how are they targeting. So that's one thing. We have the highest level of funding for our small county road programs. Going into the session, we were looking at a reduction because of dock stamps. We got $50 million extra dollars for small county road programs, $162 million, record level. So also the constitutional amendment for teachers and law enforcement. And folks, when there's a constitutional amendment for property tax to increase your exemptions, increase homestead, you do that in these small counties that have a very low tax base, and you take property off the rolls. We created with the legislature, probably when Jeb Bush was in, he was the first one to do it, what we call the fiscally constrained county status. It's where a county, the value of a mill is less than $5 million. And so with the last several constitutional amendments that went through, the increase in homestead by 25,000, this one coming up on the agenda, we've been able to pass what they call a companion bill or an implementing bill, not just the constitutional amendment, but it says if this exemption passes, without it, you would lose revenue, even though it's a well-intentioned and a good thing for the property owner. So this fiscally constrained program, we obligate the legislature to pay the same amount of what it costs in your county to the county off the top of the state budget. So every year, literally, probably $100 million goes into the fiscally constrained counties, and the citizens get the benefit, but you don't have to take the loss. So clearly, your $3,500 or $4,000, my measure, look, I'm an outcome guy. I want to see the results. And by simply, and you know I stay in touch with you. I mean, you can call me anytime. I get into your email twice a week, 3 times a week. So anybody can call me or respond to me. I probably should get around a little bit more, but I wanted to drop in today and look at that. Just on the docket, and I'll close here. There's a couple things that we need to really pay attention to. One, the stormwater and wastewater study. 2 years ago, the legislature passed a requirement that cities and counties have to do a 5-year priority list of stormwater and wastewater needs, and then a 20-year, kind of like DOT. So the cities are supposed to report in June, and then in July, you're to aggregate that into a report to the state. Now, we did get a provision that if you guys think that's too costly to put together, you don't have to do it. However, if you don't do it, you're at risk for not being competitive for applications at the state if you haven't defined that. So, that's one thing, the wastewater, stormwater study. Number 2, cybersecurity. You're probably further along but they passed a law last year. No city, no county, no state agency can settle on some cybersecurity breach that, holds you hostage for money. You can't do it. Also, you've got to train every new employee within 30 days on cybersecurity issues, and you've got to upgrade. So that's something on the docket. Broadband, okay? Just stay on top of that local technology planning team. I've got some easy to understand. Sometimes you give it to a state agency and they come out with a dictionary that gets you in the weeds and you can't even figure out what the heck you're supposed to be looking at. We've put together some very quick documents. So that's pretty much it. I really appreciate your involvement, your participation in the coalition. You are one of the 2. Chairman, you are one of the 2 representatives from each of the counties. We have 40 members. Chairman Jones is also a regional representative in our organizational structure, chairman, vice chairman, secretary, and then we have 5 regions that have 2 reps, and Ricky Jones is a member of that. But you've always been a good member. So I've probably taken a little bit too long. I'm looking forward to the Julius Hallis. And yep, and there's your website. Hey, do me a favor here. You mind?
Go ahead.
Of course we don't. Go ahead, sir.
Click on briefings. Click down there, that red button right there.
Briefings, where you go.
Okay. Just click on that.
Oh, I don't know what I just did, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Wrong computer.
You're wrong computer.
All right, if anybody wants to find out what's going on, go ahead and scroll down. These are reports that come out of my office virtually every 2 to 3 days. Pat, it's a good source here. Go back up and hit home if it's up at the top. Okay, hit important links.
Oh.
Way up to important links. Okay, let's scroll down really slow. You got all the elected officials, state and federal. You got all the government websites, My Florida, Find a County, Find a City, the Florida Channel if you want to watch what's going on. Keep going down. Office of Economic and Demographic Research. That is a unit of state government, data sets, local government financial information, salaries of county constitutionals, going down. This just has an absolute wealth. Now, keep going down. We just added all these sites. These are sites that relate to the federal government, state government, and local as it relates to broadband information. So all the standards, what's been going on, keep on going. And these are some additional sites: Florida Association of Counties, NACO, Florida Chamber of Commerce, regional councils, and a report from Resources for Rural Economic Development. So our chairman, we've been pretty adamant about trying to stay, I believe we stay current with our members, okay? Having a website, to me, it's important, but I'm confident through the briefings we've gotten to our members. But this is much better, and it'll help the public kind of understand your role as you protect them as well. A lot of folks think you might not protect them, but you know, the fact of the matter is, without you, these kind of things wouldn't be here, and their property taxes would be way higher than they are. So anyway, well, congratulations to you guys. I'll be visiting with the fire marshal.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Chris?
Thank you for being here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Attorney Schuler, I think your report's what's left.
Always good to be the caboose on the agenda. I understand that there are public comments on the attorney's report.
Yes,
It
there
might
are.
be beneficial to the board to receive the public comments, or if you want
Yes.
me to proceed.
Well, one of them says public comment, and the other one, to clarify, the other one says public comment on specific items on your report, B, C, D, and E. So I don't know if they can.
Which would be the ones you would get to,
Address
Attorney
those,
Schuler, because
no.
you already dealt with the code enforcement ordinance, you already dealt with Lark Village,
Well, no, we're on to item number 2 on my report.
Okay.
And essentially, Commissioners, a month ago, you, after having a discussion among the board, directed me to go to court concerning the matter over the volunteer fire department in the Lanark St. James Fire District. I think the gist was trying to make them meet and perform, respond to 911 calls, hold meetings, have an election. I have looked at the legal options that are available to the board, and while I think I certainly can make someone comply with their own bylaws, I think I can resolve the question of, whether they're subject to the Sunshine Law and the Public Records Law. I don't think that gets the board to what you are actually trying to accomplish, which is an effective fighting force that is ready, able, and willing to respond and does respond. So, as I've said in summary in paragraph 3 of item number 2, I think the board's at a point where I need to have a discussion with the board members among themselves. Does the board feel it is time to continue working with the Lanark Village Volunteer Fire Department to try and get them reconstituted as an effective force that's ready, able, and willing to respond, or to move on and basically create a new volunteer fire department? And that is the discussion I wanted to have with the board today. I mean, I could go through some of the factual basis, but I think you're already familiar with it from many months of discussions. The only thing I think that could be added that's new to the record, Mr. Morone had reported to me, I guess it was after this past weekend, not yesterday, Monday, but last week, that there were, I think, 2 other incidents. And Mr. Morone, if you would.
Yes.
I mean, you got the call from dispatch. If you would,
Yes.
it's calls that have been made by dispatch and not responded to. So if you would tell the board what dispatch told you.
Yeah, so dispatch reported to me, again, over a week ago, that there was a weekend where first there was the medevac, or also known as the air ambulance helicopter, that came in, Usually they bring the fire department around the landing zone, just in case of an accident. They called for Lanark Village to respond to it, no answer. There was another incident around the end of the week, that same weekend, where someone left their grill unattended. Fire started from that. Again, they called for Lanark Village, no response. And I'm not sure if anything else happened since then. I heard something this morning. I wasn't sure if it related to that one of those two incidents or was an additional incident. And that came from the Sheriff's Dispatch Office.
Okay, then the only other new information I can add to the board is Mr. James Putnell has been in contact with me a couple of times by telephone, and his phone calls were in response to the letter that I sent out after your last board meeting, informing them that of the board's actions of suspending the MSBU payments, the quarterly payments directly to Lanark St. James Fire Department, providing the information to them on how they could submit requests for payments to the county for processing and consideration and payment by the board. And I had also, although the board discussed and took no action relative to the what I will call the apparent MSBU funds in their account that have been described as either 100,000 or 124,000. I did ask them to provide accounting information, essentially bank statements going back to, I think it was January of 21 for that information. Mr. Putnell called me on Monday, said they've had some, this is my words, not necessarily his words, but they've had some emergency meeting. They have appointed him as, Mr. Putnell, as the, I think, temporary or interim treasurer or secretary of the board. And so he says he's now working to get me that financial information. And then my last phone call with him was this morning. He's going to go by the bank and basically copy those statements and get them to me, and I'll turn them into Mr. Morone. So we'll have those in the public record, just showing, you know, money in, money out of that account. And he represents that he, you know, will work with the county. And I told him about today's meeting when we spoke Monday and said that the subject matter that I was bringing up for the board to discuss was, you know, I feel like there's not any effective judicial remedy that I think is available to the board to make a volunteer force, you know, ready, able, and willing, and an effective fighting force. So I was going to ask the board to discuss today, give me some direction. Does the board want to continue trying to work with this current volunteer fire department board, or perhaps move on to stand up a new volunteer fire department, you know, with the use of a fire coordinator, which is my phrase. I couldn't think of anything better, so whatever their name is. But the fire coordinator would be a person that is a certified firefighter. They have EMT training, first responder training, and I think it would be a bonus if they actually had emergency medical training. But essentially what I'm suggesting is, I think you're at a point where either you've got to really work with this current board and try and get them reconstituted, or hire a fire coordinator. You run the MSBU district in Lanark St. James as the governing board, because under your current ordinance, you are the governing board of all 7 of the fire districts. Historically, always, that you've had those fire districts managed on your behalf through a volunteer fire department. And we just, even as of this morning, I understand that you still don't have, you only have one qualified person, I'm told, that can respond, and they're not able to respond by themselves. Now, whether that's factually true or not, I can't say. I mean, I'm not a firefighter, but I do know we're at a point where I think there's not an effective judicial remedy available to the board. So I think it's a policy decision. Continue working with the one that's there and see if they can get themselves reconstituted, supported by Careball, or move on and start the process of perhaps forming a new volunteer fire department, having that district under your direct control in the interim through a fire coordinator that has the necessary training and experience to try and coordinate the volunteers. That would be all the volunteers that are ready, able, and willing in that district to either get certified or already have the certification and stand up a volunteer force that will respond to these 911 calls when they're made, because right now that's not happening. So that is my summary presentation.
Attorney Schuler, before we proceed, since we do have some people that turn in speaker cards.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to call for public comment.
Yes, sir,
before
that's fine.
we have any discussion amongst the board.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Debbie Jordan?
I'm going to rescind for now and hold my comment.
We're doing public comments for now.
Yes, I'm going to rescind for the moment.
Well, I'm asking you for public comments.
I'm not going to, I don't have any comments for the moment.
All right. Ms. Victoria Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Victoria, please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Victoria Hart, Lanark Village. And it's just directly noon, so I guess I'll say good afternoon, commissioners. Originally I had 3 points, but after listening to the county attorney, I'm going to expand on a couple of issues. One, my first point was that the agreement that you signed with the city of Careball is a temporary Band-Aid, and it should be regarded as such, because it's not a real solution. It's just something that's going to get us through until we can get to an interim solution or to a final solution. So by postponing this for 8 months and having this agreement in place for 8 months pushes it past the election, and it should never become an election issue. This should be solved immediately. We have been talking to you people since last July and August. So it's gone on for over a year. Okay? So then on the same point, if we can't, I have one question. One is, are you going to enter into a similar agreement with Alligator Point? Because supposedly they're going to help with summer camp in St. Teresa. So are you going to enter into another agreement? The other thing is that we have a petition going around Lanark right now. I have 65 signatures where we're going to ask the State Firefighters Association if they have volunteers that can come and help us out. Because Careball can't and won't come in and do an inventory, come in and tell us what equipment needs repair, what kinds of equipment needs to be replaced. All that needs to be done so that we can get the fire department up and running. Secondly, the MSBU funds. They were audited in 2018 and 2019. So 2020 and 2021 are the 2 years that we're asking for you to freeze those funds. And last meeting, you said that you didn't know how much money. All you have to do is ask Erin. She's the one that writes the checks every quarter. And so for 2020 and 2021, she's your source of information. And you can look at the bank statements and look at the deposits and see what was done in terms of charitable donations or fundraising. And I can tell you that I don't think anything was done. Finally, the contract. I think it's a good thing. You were told when the audit came out that we needed a contract between the commissioners and the fire department because $35,000 was spent questionably. In addition to that, we had to pay $15,000 for a water bill. Okay? So that's a lot of money for this small village. $35,000 is 1/3 of the money in the account. And yet nobody can prosecute, or the sheriff's department and the auditing firm couldn't prosecute because there wasn't a contract, allegedly. That's the reason why. Well, we need the contract. Otherwise, we're setting ourselves up again for somebody to come in there and write checks fraudulently. and spend money that's questionable. So we do need that contract between Lanark Village and the commissioners. It's your fiduciary duty. You're the ones that take these tax dollars.
Ms.
and-
Hart, excuse me, can you please wrap it up? You're at past 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I answer any other question? Oh, I want to point one other thing out. At the last meeting, Jeremy Putnell sat here and said that he was not a representative of the fire department, okay? And yet he's representing himself to you. They held an emergency meeting. They didn't announce it. There was no announcement 24 hours in advance of having a meeting. They don't have a quorum. There's only 3 people on the board. So there's no way they can even have a quorum to hold a meeting or to have a vote.
Ms. Hart, excuse me. I appreciate what you're saying, but we can't answer for what Mr. Putnell does and doesn't do.
I know, I'm just saying that,
Yeah.
one thing is, he's saying one thing one week, and 2 weeks later he's saying something else.
Thank you for your time. All right. So we're done with public comments.
Commissioners, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, so go ahead.
Again, the procedural point that I'm asking the board to address is whether we have reached a end of the process of trying to work with the current volunteer department. If that's the board's decision, I have laid out for your consideration in my report several points for your consideration in terms of moving forward. One of those would be, at least on a temporary basis, that Franklin County would directly operate the MSBU district in Lanark St. James through a fire coordinator who would not be a county employee. This would be a contract person that I would propose to be paid for out of the MSBU funds. And if you authorize hiring that person, then essentially their task would be to include, among what other duties the county may give to them, standing up a new group of volunteers to form a new department in Lanark St. James to respond to fire protection calls, rescue calls, and also, frankly, while they're working with the county, that they would also be part of the response. Notify the current fire department that assuming that's your decision, that you intend to cease using them for fire and life safety purposes, essentially terminating the agreements you have with that volunteer department, and then move on to create a new department, which very well may include some of the current volunteers if they want to be certified and they're ready, able, and willing. Notify the current department that you want them to return all of the MSBU funds in their possession. Do not want any of their charitable donations. Those are donations that were made to them, but the MSBU funds are under your control and management ultimately, I believe. And ask the city of Careball to exercise their reverter provision on the deed, since the property is not being used as a fire department. Transfer that property to the county that you could then use as part of standing up a new department. And then ask that you amend your directions to me from last meeting to instead, if there's not a voluntary transfer of the equipment in the MSBU funds, seek a court order requiring that the MSBU funds be returned to the county and placed in the Lanark St. James Trust Fund under the management of the county. And then seek a court order that, since we believe all the equipment was purchased with public funds, that the title to those, the equipment be transferred to the county to then be used as part of standing up a new board. But it's it is a big problem for public safety in Lanark. It's taken a while to get here, but the department is just not responding to calls. And since I don't see an effective remedy, I don't see any other choice. You either have to try and continue working with this current group or start over. I don't see any other options for the board, but I bring it to you in a public forum for your discussion because you're the decision makers, you're the policy makers. You may see some other options out there that I'm not seeing, but I am bringing it to you for your discussion and hopefully maybe a decision today.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
As a county commissioner for District 2, in which this fire department is involved, I have been observing and watching this situation since last summer. And in my opinion, we're done with the existing board. And I recommend that we adopt the well-thought-out plan that our attorney has decided, has given us to make this decision. And I would like to make a motion that the board adopt and approve the items.
We need to discuss this thing.
We do.
I think it's items 1 through 6.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Bolt. Discussion,
Good.
sir.
Okay. Now, this thing been going on too long. The current board, the current fire department over there, they're not answering the call. It's our job, it's the county commissioner job, to do public safety. That's our main job. And the other part I ain't worried about. But it's our job to make sure the public is safe. And since I'm for not going with the regular board what's over there now, because they not doing what they supposed to do. That's right. But they got an argument going in which there's another group want to come in there and take over. Now, I'm not going to sit up and get with the one group and get to the other group who are arguing against them, because it's going to be the same thing. So if you're going to resolve it, you make sure that other group can't just step in. I ain't with all that. I mean, I'm not, I ain't here to satisfy no fight. I'm not a referee in a fight. I'm in here to get things right for public safety. But if that other group, they can't be no way involved neither one. If we're gonna do it, as far as I'm concerned, neither one of them need to be there. And let some new people come in there.
Commissioner Locke, I think, agreeing with what you're saying, I think that what the plan that's laid out to us kind of does that.
It does.
Because it puts it at arm's length, it hires a completely new person.
Yep.
That's trained to try to help on behalf, not just the board, but half of the people that live in Lanark, St. James, to have a fire department.
I know it, but what I'm saying is that long as it ain't affiliated with the other group.
Duly noted. So we do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion on this motion before we vote, Commissioners?
Yes, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman. I agree with everything the attorney's got here. I agree with moving on. And when we do move on, I agree there needs to be a contract written for this particular fire department that lays out what these MSBU funds are to be used for.
Yes.
That needs to be part of the solution when we start over and hire a fire coordinator. And I agree with all that. You need somebody in there that knows what they're doing. Try to stand up a new group of volunteers. As you said, as the gentleman said to us at the last meeting, there are people there that are certified and able, just not willing. Well, if you bring in a good fire coordinator, maybe these people will become a willing participant in establishing a new fire department over there. But obviously they need some kind of direction that tells them what they can and can't do with these funds that come from the public, which is your MSBU funds. What they do with private funds generated from fundraisers and all, that's not controlled by MSBU funds and the pertinent ways you can spend that. And I think that's what they do in other places around the county. What they do with the private fundraiser money is one thing. What you can actually use public funds for is something totally different. So as you reinstitute a new board, then they need to be given direction and guidance on exactly how this is supposed to be, how the MSBU funds are to be used. And I think we've spent enough time here trying to deal with the other fire department. We've asked for bylaws, we've asked for this, we asked for that. Don't have to comply with your demands, because there was never no contract as to what they could and couldn't do. And I won't get into all the specifics of the audit that was done and the way some of the monies were spent. But I would like to see that not continue any further. I'd like to know that they obviously need guidance as to how these funds are to be spent. I mean, they can be spent for training, to train new volunteers. There's a lot of different ways it can be spent to the benefit of your volunteer fire department. And then there's other ways that the money shouldn't be spent, so we need guidance there. I'm not saying every fire department in the county needs that, because there are no other allegations of any other fire department misspending these public funds. Everybody else seems to be doing what they're supposed to do and for the benefit of the community. I don't really think that, I tend to not think that the people or the fire department in St. James Lanark Village understand that the benefits of having a volunteer fire department there. Because if you have to go with a paid fire department, with manned 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, do the citizens really understand what that's going to cost? And it's not going to be paid for by the county, it's going to be paid for by the citizens of that district. Do you understand that your fire assessment won't be $50 or $100 no more per year? You got to pay for a paid fire department. And I agree that the people of Lanark Village need to sit down and quit all the bickering and the Hatfields and McCoys, as we called it at the last meeting, and do what's best for the community. Everybody's receiving a benefit from having a well-prepared, well-trained volunteer fire department. If not, you're going to pay, and it's not going to be cheap. So what I'm trying to say is the people of Lanark Village, when we get this fire coordinator and we try to move forward, you need to get behind the fire department. Don't be adversarial with the fire department. These are volunteers bringing you a service and a benefit. Get behind them. Do more fundraising. Have appreciation for the people that are volunteering their time to bring to that community the benefit that they're going to enjoy from a well-performed, a well-prepared volunteer fire department. All the Hatfield McCoy stuff needs to stop, and you need to get behind your fire department and let them know that you appreciate what they're doing as a volunteer. And, you know, there were some allegations that people run around taking pictures of them and just down in the fire department, down in the fire department. Well, you need to be more appreciative of what they're doing. And, of course, they have to have their training. And these MSBU funds can be used to pay for that training for these volunteers. They shouldn't have to be a volunteer and pay for their own training. These MSBU funds can be used for that. But you need to get behind your volunteer fire department, support them in any way you can, and not be so adversarial with somebody that's trying to provide a benefit to you and do a well job for you. And you know, you may have a hiccup here or there. That don't mean run around and blast them and put them down. It means you need to get behind them. Tell them how much you appreciate them, and let them know that you appreciate the service they're providing you.
Any more discussion before we vote?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I just also wanted to express my profound appreciation for the perspective that I have received as a county commissioner, not only from my commissioner colleagues here, but also from the people of Lanark Village over these many months. And I also want to express a deep appreciation for the intense work that Attorney Schuler has done to come up with this itemized stepping that we are going to be voting on. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
My simple way, I'll just say, I love this plan because it focuses on building the volunteer fire department from the ground up with recruiting volunteer firefighters, the people we really want, and not worrying about which board is in charge coming down. That's my simple way of looking at it, and I think that's the way it needs to be done. And echoing what the other commissioners say, Commissioner Locke, Commissioner Parrish, you know, don't worry about the board right now. Everything is going to run through the county staff. Worry about recruiting volunteer firefighters that are ready, willing, and able, you know, and want to be part of this. Commissioner Parrish said, and the community needs to support them.
To clarify, Ms. Gay, we did have a motion and a second, or we just have a motion?
Motion and a second.
Okay.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
clarify the motion and the second for the record?
Yes, please do.
And Commissioners, please confirm that this is your understanding of what you're voting on. What you were voting on is a motion and a second to approve my item number 2 on my report dated April 29th, 2022. Oh, see a typo. It says 022, and it's for bullet points 1 through 6. So the motion and the second is to approve items 1 through 6 on my paragraph number 2 on my report for this meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 5-0 vote.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
What-
we're going to start just as soon as we can come up with a job description and get it out there. I mean, the board has approved it and staff is going to start moving post haste as quick as we can. I mean, we don't move we move at the speed of government, not the speed of business, but as quickly as possible. Mr. Chairman, may I move to the next
Yes.
item on my
Before you,
report?
I want to clear something up. So Mr. John Berry was on, he has his hand raised, but he asked to speak this afternoon at the fire marshal
That's what I understood.
workshop. Yes, I just want to clarify that for the record, so
Okay.
he understands. I wasn't ignoring him, but I think it's for the later, this afternoon at 1:30.
Okay,
All
go
right,
ahead.
Commissioners, in my report, I have proposed to consider the adoption of an emergency burn ban ordinance for the Lanark St. James Fire District. We already know that there are some extended service response times coming from Careball, and I've just heard from Alligator Point for the eastern end. We did have an unattended barbecue fire that occurred in Lanark, so what I am proposing for the board is that the board make a finding that given the current exigency of the circumstances with fire response and fire protection in Lanark St. James, that the board would determine that an emergency exists, that the waiver of the usual adoption procedures of the ordinance is required, and that the immediate enactment of the ordinance is necessary for the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare. And essentially, it would ban all open burning, which would be in pits or just like loose leaf burning. All that would be banned. You would still have outdoor barbecue grills, and if you use charcoal briquettes, that you would have to douse and extinguish the briquettes with water upon the completion of cooking, and that the barbecue grill cannot be unattended at any time. You must, when you light it, you stay with it, you cook, you put it out. And this emergency ordinance would remain in force and effect until the board adopts a subsequent ordinance revoking this current burn ban, and the penalty for the violation of the ordinance is proposed as a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree, which means it would be punishable by a fine not to exceed $500 or imprisonment in the county jail not to exceed 60 days, or by both such fine and imprisonment. And the ordinance can only be adopted on an emergency basis with a 4/5 vote of the membership, waiving the ordinary enactment procedures and declaring that an emergency exists, and the immediate enactment of this ordinance is necessary.
Okay.
And we would have to take public comment before the board takes action.
Okay. Do we have anyone that would like to comment on this publicly? What about online?
Online, and let me be very clear that because of this, you do not, it was not required that you fill out a speaker card to comment on this particular item, on the burn ban.
Okay.
There's
Is anybody
no one
online?
online, so you can go
Okay.
back to the.
Go ahead, Ms. Jordan.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, all of you. I appreciate you, and my comment is just to please stress the importance. I support the burn ban wholeheartedly, and just to please.
Your name for the record.
I did say it. I thought I said it. I'm sorry. Debbie Famey Jordan.
Thank you.
It's just very. I think it's very important that this be as widely publicized as possible, because there tend to be. A lot of this information goes through Facebook and social media, so please help us to make sure that that is as widely publicized, so those that don't use that know that it's there. Thank you.
I'll actually ask Pam if she could put this on that emergency alert system that she has, that comes straight to everyone's phone that's signed up.
Wonderful.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's it for public comment.
Yep, no one online, sir.
Anyone else have anything to discuss, or anyone want to make a motion? Again, we're making a motion that encapsulates this specific language as laid out by Attorney Schuler. The board has determined an emergency exists and that the waiver of the usual adoption procedure of this ordinance is required. Immediate enactment of this ordinance is necessary.
So move.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt, second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion before we vote?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This recent fire that happened over there, was that done with a barbecue grill?
That's what I was told from dispatch. It was
A barbecue grill?
a grill. They
So if
said
you had fire, you're gonna make a you're gonna have cook some stuff on the grill, your fire's in the grill. How does it get away?
I don't know if he actually, maybe
How does it
he,
get away? How do you start a barbecue in your grill and then just walk off and leave it? You're
Unless he
supposed to be
finished-
there ready to cook. I mean, I don't understand
Yeah, I
if
don't-
that's what happened. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm
didn't
just
get
saying
the-
it don't make no sense.
I didn't get the exact report, Commissioner. I don't know if he dumped the coal, and that's what they meant by unattended. I didn't
Dump
get all
the
that
coal.
information from.
Just let the coal burn out in the grill.
From, again.
I mean, I don't understand what's going on over there.
Yeah. Just
I mean-
repeat to you what I was told, sir.
Okay. I'll leave it alone.
Any more discussion before we vote?
I just don't understand.
Seeing no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That vote is unanimous. Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the action items on my report. There are a number of informational items. Unless the board has any questions for me, the hour is late, and I will not go through the non-action items.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Attorney Schuler, didn't you have item 4 on your report about the interlocal agreement, or did we already?
We did that earlier.
That's right.
It was on my
Okay.
report, Commissioner, but I'd also asked Mr. Morone to put it on the agenda as a specific item.
Okay.
The time
Sorry
certain
about that.
item.
Time certain.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward.
All right. Any commissioner comments then? Before we adjourn and then do our workshop at 1:30? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Got two, me.
All
Look,
right.
when them people came in this morning, they said, the hospital I'm talking about, they said the year was 1959. And it's 2022 now. So that's something like 63 years that place, that building old. And we've been having money, we've been collecting money with over 10. We got money out there. Told the people we're gonna build a hospital. It's time for us to do something. I mean, it just, the building getting old and we behind. We need to do what we told people we're gonna do. There'll be some brick and mortar. They're gonna have them, because everything is going up just like that. That's why it went up so much. And it's gonna go up, it's a double. Keep on waiting, it's gonna triple. Simple as that.
We're going to get that hospital for you.
It's gonna triple the price sooner or later. Or it's a double, I mean, you ain't gonna, and don't never think you gonna save enough money to pay cash for it.
I know.
Get that off your mind, you're not gonna do it. And the state ain't gonna give you nothing. They just, that, you ain't doing nothing but, you know, that's a prolonging. We need to build a hospital. That's a need, it's a necessity. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments?
Before you hit the gavel, a couple of points. One, remember 1:30 is your the presentation, State Fire Marshal Office. Two things, they will not be televised by Forgotten Coast, so you have to log into Zoom. There is a different Zoom login for this afternoon's meeting because it's recorded separately, so we have a record of that as a separate meeting from this afternoon. So please go to the county's website, click that link, and log in to Zoom if you want to see it virtually. And until then, I'll see you guys in an hour.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.